There we go. All right, cool.
There you
I
are.
don't look like a mess, too much like a mess, I should say. So we are live, and we had a crazy night. I barely got any sleep last night at all. I'm a political nerd at heart, so yesterday was my time to shine, and I'm still like we're still processing a lot of things that's happened, but as someone who is issue oriented and focused on policy more than anything else, I'm very glad to see we are still winning the battle of ideas at the end of the day. I saw the exit polling, and I saw 72% nationally on the Fox News poll. American people support Medicare for all,
Wow.
and I we see this every single time, and then we see progressive victories down ballot. Like we see $15 minimum wage in Florida get passed. We see weed had a massive victory today, last night. Weed's a giant winner from 2020 so far. So I feel like we should learn from all these events. Now I'm in the mindset right now, like man, we need to start putting all these issues on the ballot. Fuck these
Yeah.
politicians. Fuck the politicians.
Right.
Put these issues on the ballot. So that's my first initial thought. I'm looking at these uh, exit polling results, and I'm also very very heartbroken because I'm looking at so much potential that we had throughout the course of this country. Like Charles Booker, for example, Amy McGrath got blown away because she ran the most horrific campaign you can possibly run as a Trump Democrat, instead of embracing progressive ideas.
Yep.
So when you see how popular ideas like Medicare for All is, increasing the living wage, and when you see these grassroots issues, I see Booker and I see these progressive Democrats putting up a much better fight than I see the centrist Democrats doing, and they ran a centrist direction. That's why they losing the House seats. They're actually negative in the House right now, and it's actually shocking that they failed to flip the Senate, considering the positions that the Republicans are in. Because in any other election cycle, I would have favored Trump and maybe the Republicans because how bad Joe Biden is. But in an era of COVID, where 200,000 Americans have died, how are you not able to flip a Senate?
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
pathetic, pathetic. So
It
I
would have
want,
It's
been
like you
so
said.
easy. It's as simple as just adopting progressive values. That's what's popular. It's what people want. It's what wins. Look at Cori Bush.
yep, she won. See,
Well,
look, we
if
winning.
you
Go
if you
ahead,
look
Pat.
back to the
Yeah.
primaries, I mean,
Blew up like by like 80%.
well, none of this should be a shock because Medicare for all was popular in every single primary exit poll. So
Yep.
you would think that'd be a clue that Biden should have embraced it since the pandemic got worse during his run for office here.
Right.
Yeah,
To not embrace single payer healthcare during a pandemic is pretty low.
it's funny
I
because
think he could have had like a landslide win if he did, go the Bernie route and adopt those ideas. It would have been very easy to have this election in the bag. There wouldn't even be a question.
yeah, it's clear to me like whoever would endorse Medicare for all first would have won, right? Like it's so close. That could have been the decider right there because you're looking at 72%, and this poll is just an example of the trend we already seen. Because we already seen a poll where it shows around 68% independents supported Medicare for all, and that same poll had 88% Democrats and 46% of Republicans. And when that poll came out, everyone was like, all the capitalists were shook. They was like, that's an outlier. Now we seen this. Now we seen this exit poll. So a lot of people say you can't trust the exit polls, but this is the trend that we are seeing. That we're seeing people are being fed up. And if you look at the way they phrase the question too, they do so much propaganda against the idea of single payer and against Medicare fraud because they don't even properly state our position. It's the same situation with defund the police. They don't frame our position in a proper way, but we still win the battle of the ideas at the end of the day. They were like, well, will you guys support a government run healthcare program? That's not what
Yeah.
Medicare for all is. That you talking about NHS in the UK. That's what you talking about when you talking about a government ran. And even then that's a stretch because they're just government workers. They're still independent hospitals. And when we're looking at America, it's pretty much privatized hospitals, but it's taxpayer funded. So you will save the American people money. So when I say they use
Yeah.
biased framing, imagine they framed it this way. Imagine they say, "Hey, Medicare for all is proven to increase jobs, increase wages, save money. We support that system." I guess that bias in the other way, but you know what I mean? Like, like you see what we see how the polls look like when it's biased in a right wing framing, and we see in the exit poll now. You already seen the American people shift that way after the course of this election.
Yeah, that narrative should have switched entirely when the Republican-backed Mercatus study came out and said that Medicare for all saved money.
Yep.
They put that study out to
Yep.
try to attack Medicare for all, and it proved our case.
Yep.
And that's why I said, like,
Really
it's funny
missed.
because after every single debate, and even after the election results, there was one person that always trends, and it was Bernie Sanders. And as much as I criticize Bernie Sanders, we always had the same rallying cry whenever there's like a billionaire or someone on the right wing that attacks him, because he is responsible for pushing these issues on the forefront, and because what he did, he still win the battle of ideas. That's why now we see AOC, we see the squad, and we see the progressive leaders coming out. We see Cori Bush winning her race. We got Jamal Bowman, Mondale Jones. We got all these progressive leaders. Look at the mandate you've been given by the American people, right? So the squad won their elections by a landslide. Cori Bush pulled an upset that that dethroned the political dynasty of 50 years. And on top of that, you have the progressive ideas on exit polls that is doing so well. So we have the mandate to challenge democratic power right now. And what kills me, because we started this show off very positive, and I appreciate that, but I can't help but have a sense of dread because we have Nancy Pelosi and we have Mitch McConnell still. They won their races, and the Republicans
Yep.
that still hold the Senate. So imagine your reaction if you're told in 2016 and 2020 the leaders of our country will be Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi. The oligarchy never changed; they always win. And
We
that's
don't have time for that. We just don't have the time. Like these issues are urgent.
in
Think of like
2020.
the climate catastrophes too, to be playing games like this. But I saw Nancy talking about a change in leadership. I'm curious to see where that goes. If she's gonna step
Yeah.
down or
She hinted the fact that she wanted to be a House Speaker again, and that's why this is a very important test for the squad to start off with in their second term. Because what do you do? Last time they folded because they wanted to show unity with the party, and Nancy Pelosi apparently made a promise with them that this could be her last time going for House Speaker. And now I don't know why you would believe Nancy Pelosi in any situation. So Nancy Pelosi showed her cards on how she wanted to be a leader once again, and she feel like she has the mandate because she was already coming out bragging about her victory. So if
Mhm.
she runs, what kind of opposition are we gonna see? Like Pat, what do you see? How do you see the situation with the House Speaker unfolding? Because we're in the same situation we was in 2016, the same leaders. Like we would think that some a country that's as progressive as we are, how are we stuck with Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, and Nancy Pelosi as the three figureheads of our
Right.
country? How would that happen?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have Nancy's going to be the leader again. They're going to handicap progressives like AOC. They'll give them appointments to positions, but limit their powers within those positions. And we're fucked. I mean, we're in the perfect situation for Democrats if Biden wins because the Senate can stop whatever they do.
Yep.
So Nancy can pretend to be a progressive. She can pretend she shifted the whole party left, and then everything dies in the Senate forever.
Yeah, and they're very happy that Mitch McConnell won. And people can get mad at me for saying if they want to, but it was very clear ever since I saw the story where Chuck Schumer, they said he personally recruited Amy McGrath for the Senate race against Mitch McConnell. They're like, why would you do that? She already lost. Like she's not a proven commodity. She's not what the community is looking for. And you look at the areas where Amy McGrath actually did her best, it was in the urban cities like Louisville, for example, in the high black areas. So imagine if you had someone like Charles Booker that was running who had even more enthusiasm than she did. and who supported the progressive policies that Mitch McConnell would have been forced to defend. You had Amy McGrath that would not even hit Mitch McConnell on the most core issues. Like whenever she brought up foreign policy, she would hit Mitch McConnell on the right on that issue. Never bringing up Medicare for all. Never attacking him on
Yeah.
his stance on healthcare. Never attacking on his stance on the COVID relief checks. Like I was watching the debate between her and Mitch McConnell. I made it like 15 minutes in, and I got a lot of tolerance for political bullshit, believe it or not. And I was like 15 minutes in, I'm like, this is the dullest shit I ever seen in my life. She was just pretty much bringing up. She's like, well, I used to fly planes for the Navy. Like she would bring that up every time there was a question. She's like, well, I can handle the situation. I can handle the economy because, I was a veteran. And then Mitch McConnell was really laughing like, bro, that's literally the only thing she's going to talk about. He was like literally roasting her. And I saw where it was going. And imagine if you had Charles Booker up there grilling Mitch McConnell. The situation we
Yeah.
could have been in.
I mean, Democrats didn't really make an effort to win back the Senate, to be honest. You don't put $100 million into Amy McGrath against Mitch McConnell, a race you're never going to fucking win.
And
Exactly.
screw over Booker. That election was a sham. It was a sham election. The voter suppression, the voter fraud that came out of that state around that time
100%.
was just like every other primary
Exactly.
we've seen this year.
And people make the mistake of assuming that Democrats
I
don't
saw
learn their
that tweet from
lessons.
Pete Buttigieg today about.
Pe-
Oh, sorry, you
people-
go. You go.
I give you the floor right after this, Savi. People make the mistake assuming that Democrats don't learn their lesson after every 4 years. They actually do. They actually made a lot of adjustments from 2016, and a lot of people don't notice. So what they saw, and the reason why they assumed they lost the election was they saw that Trump was this unstoppable oligarch superhero figure of the right. So what they do in response to that? They didn't. People assumed that the Democrats were going to respond in a left wing, well-adjusted way. No, Democrats saw the situation with Donald Trump. And they was like, "Oh, we got to double down. we got to find a Trump of our own." So what they do? They found literally an old white man who has a horrible past, a shady history. He's an accused rapist, just like Trump. He accused racist, just like Trump. He had policies that's hurt the black community more than anyone else. He's a pathological liar. He lied about being in the civil rights movement multiple times throughout the course of this campaign. And people want to call out Trump for being a serial liar, which he is. I admit that. But how you got a guy who said he was arrested protesting with Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and the media doesn't call this out the same way that Fox News wouldn't
Right.
call out Trump when Trump lies, wouldn't he? So what's the difference? You got CNN, you got MSNBC who won't call out Joe Biden for saying these blatant lies, and you got Fox News, and you got OANN, and you got the right wing media sphere who don't call out Trump. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. What do you think, Jackie? Because I don't know. We didn't give you a chance to give you a brand. What do you think? What do you think about what post election night? What are you thinking, Jackie?
Well, I was gonna say we have some questions in chat already.
Oh, go ahead. Let's go over those questions.
Spiderwolf said, I saw on the Progressive Martial Artist Twitter page and saw he had retweeted something about abolishing the police. Why do you believe in abolishing the police?
I've been working on police abolition groups for the last few weeks now. Actually, for the last few months, ever since the beginning of June, and I made a lot of videos discussing this issue. And when I talk about abolishing the police, defunding the police, I want people to really understand that I am coming at this from a moderate position. You guys understand that, right? So, if you look at police forces in other countries, are they armed like our police forces? Do they have people that show up with guns at mental health illness cases? Does that happen? No, we are. If you look at our situation compared to the rest of the world and what we did throughout the course of human history, we are far right as hell. Like we have a fascist military police state that we live in. They pull you over, they check you for dime bags, they racially profile, they've been infiltrated by white supremacists. So I've been very open about my political standing. I'm a libertarian socialist. What that mean? That means if you have government, you gotta have government that justifies itself. So, for example, I support Medicare for all because Medicare for all will not only save 68,000 lives per year, it will help boost wages, it help boost jobs, and it will save the average American family money. So how is that not a program that justifies itself? So that's why I advocate for it. So one thing they always attack me for when I talk about abolishing police and defund the police, they're like, well, how are you going to abolish the police and defund the police? What are you going to do with areas with high crime rates? Well, this answer is simple. We have giant police budgets and we got a high crime rate. So what did that tell you? That tell you that giant police budgets doesn't work. So that means your method is not justifying itself to me. So we need to find other ways to reduce the crime rate. And when we talk about defund the police, and we talking about reallocating the resources to communities so we can have mental illness uh, help for people for families. You can have increased education for low income families. You can have healthcare access for those families, and you can have a situation where you can actually increase their uh, the quality of life. Okay, if you increase the quality of life, you can help reduce the crime rate by that very simple method because poverty breeds extremism. Studies constantly show this. You see this throughout the development of countries. When poverty goes down, the crime rate goes down. So that's how you address the crime rate, and you have a sense of community. If we have our own way to police our community, and I know my neighbor, I know what's going on there in their household. If we have mental illness specialists that checked up on these people instead of calling the cops like Walter Wallace Jr. Walter Wallace Jr. was having a mental health episode. You had cops that wasn't trained down there, and they killed that man. When you had the mom that was de-escalating the situation, the cops killed him. So the overall situation I get into, because I don't want to rant too long, I'm gonna turn to my panel as well. Is how does having giant police budget justify itself? I don't see that happening. Everything I advocate for is justified on my end. Legalized marijuana is justified because look at this tax revenue you get out of states like Colorado. Look how much you can change the communities by having that. And for once again, I'm anti-authoritarian. So when I see the police doing things that they're doing right now, I'm fundamentally against it. I've been like I'm even against it from the very basics of what they do. Like for example, what they do all the time in my area, they're not fighting gangs. They pulling people over for speed tickets, and that's a regressive tax because they not pulling over. Like if you're a rich person, you pay a speed ticket. That's a very small percentage of your income. But I've been struggling. Now I got hit with a speeding ticket. That's $100 out of my bank account for what? What? How is that helping our society having this
Yeah.
regressive tax?
More like
And that's
400
what.
now.
$100. Yeah, I was gonna say you're not in California. Clearly, that's like $400.
Well, I was just throwing out a round number. Like it could be really high, especially
Yeah.
if you get hit in the
Yeah.
work area. I was just keeping it simple.
My parking
But
tickets
my
are
point is
$100.
like
Yeah,
I've
our
been a
parking
struggling
tickets are
college
like
student.
65 plus. Our speeding tickets are $400 or $500.
So I call it regressive because who do you think that hurt the most? And who do you think they target the most with those kind of regressive taxes on the working class? Instead of having any tax on the working class, why don't you going after white collar criminals? Once again, you're not justifying yourself. So that's my stance on why I think we should defund police. That's just a very basic dive down I can give real quick because once again they literally made the street economy illegal. Like why? And this is why I support sex workers as well. Like why is that illegal? Why is selling a dime bag illegal? Like who are you to tell me I can do this? See, once again, I'm a libertarian socialist. This is my mindset. I hate authority. I guess I always been that way. Like how you tell me what I can do? I'm fine, bro. I'm not a criminal. I might do a lot of drugs, but I'm not a criminal. Like how can you treat
When
me like a
I
criminal? That's my
when I
mindset.
think of it,
Go
I
ahead,
look at
Jackie.
it like this. Not to cut you off, but people
Sorry, I
a
was just
lot of
ranting.
times assume that the police are going to prevent crime. Police never ever prevent crime. Police come after the crime.
Exactly.
So when you try to say like, well, without police, we'll have crime. Police don't come until the crime. So that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
police
I
don't
mean-
prevent anything from happening. They show up after the fact.
That's exactly what they do. 100%.
So it's not so
Well-
like the whole notion of like police preventing makes absolutely no sense to me.
And
So-
let me
and
just tell you,
also,
after the
they've
fact,
been- Oh, go ahead, Pat.
I was just gonna say after the fact, 90% of the time they don't want to do shit. I mean,
Exactly.
you know, taking the racial issues off the table, which is the number one reason to, you know, defund the police, in my opinion, but they're worthless. I mean, my experiences with cops, and I'm a classic white dude, is they don't help me
I had
either.
no idea.
You know, I'm white. Newsflash.
What?
But,
That's
But,
an
like, I
important
have-
point, though. That's an
No, but
important point.
I witnessed a hit and run just in my alley right out here. call the cops. There's a guy on the ground who's his girlfriend probably ran into him. I had to get an entire police force over here to get them to get this guy an ambulance.
Yep.
And I had video of the car driving away on my phone, and they refused to even look at it. They didn't want the evidence of the hit and run.
Yeah.
That's our police force.
And that's why that's a very important point that you brought up, Pat, because I made a thread on Twitter that got a lot of responses. I was very happy with it because I was telling people to share their stories of incompetent police. And I share my story on there. I share it again. I remember one of the few times I had to call the police is when I was living in a sketchy area in Kansas City. I had an apartment with me and my boy, and there's people they had to been scouting my place out. That had to have been the case. 'Cause we was gone for 5 minutes. We just went to the gas station. I guess we was high. Probably got some snacks or some shit. I think my boy Jay jumped on. Nice. And then we was gone for 5 minutes. And these people kicked in my door, stole my laptop and shit. And I was like, what? Like, there was like, and they tried to take my PlayStation 2, but they couldn't because there's like a lot of cords I had. I had a nice little setup. But they like yanked everything out. But you can tell they knew they didn't have a lot of time. It was weird because we was only gone 5 minutes and they only took like the laptop and they took my friend's phone. And they left. And we called the cops like, because there are a lot of propaganda on TV. And even then, in my dumb live days, I fell for it too. Because you watch cops and you watch Law and Order or whatever, and they always got these fingerprints. You got these cops who desperately want to fix the scene of the crime and solve the crime, but that's not how they are in real life. Like they literally came up, they were like, "Well, tough shit. Sorry, man, nothing we can do about that." I'm like, bro, I thought you were gonna have fingerprints. I thought you were gonna do an investigation, like pull their ID. I thought y'all gonna have detectives on the scene. Like, bro, that's a fucking $800 laptop that he stole or whatever. I'm not on the price of right. I don't know how much it costs, but it cost a shit ton to me, and I lost it. And that's just one story of cop and comedy. I made that thread, and it's constant of people just sharing the story. And my story is very, very tame compared to a lot of the stories I was reading. I had to like kind of take a break from reading them because it was very depressing after a while. And that's the point that I wanted to back up that Pat brought up because he said I'm just a white guy, and I'm like, yeah, this is a issue that the Black community take at heart and take it seriously. But I believe in solidarity, and when I talk about the issue of police, I'm talking about it affects everybody from the working class because the police is a militia that serves the interests of the ruling class. So if you're not of the ruling class, they're not going to serve your interests. They're going to go after you too. So yeah, it's a community.
They're here to raise money and protect capital.
Yep. So yeah, it negatively affected the Black community, but it also affects you too, Pat. Also affects Savvy. It affects everyone. Like because they're gonna go after you if you go against their interests. Cause I know Savvy. I want to get her opinions on this too.
With what? I couldn't hear that part.
I want to talk to you about this too, cause you would know more than anyone, cause you was on. You do a lot of direct action. You have a lot of interaction with undercover cops, undercover cops that are pedophiles as well. That I still give you a lot of props for catching that guy. So I mean, you see the same stuff we talk about too in your life, just doing what you do.
Yeah, there's been a lot. This summer really opened my eyes to just how depraved they are. Like they really do not give a single shit about human life. They don't care to beat, hurt, shoot you, and they're open about it. That's kind of the worst part. And I had this moment the other night of just kind of being like, I went to this action and one of the cops went up to one of the marshals and they had bikes and the bikes were like protecting the group of protesters. And they said, those bikes will do nothing against our cars. We're going to run you over. And we're just a group of it's a group of college kids and they're just, in riot gear threatening to kill us and run us all over. And, in the moment I say, okay, well, that's expected. That's just a cop being a cop. We expect them to be violent. We expect them. I've heard this over and over and over now. But it's not fine. It's not normal. It is wrong.
Very, very wrong.
But I don't know.
But it's still normal.
It's not supposed to be normal.
And unfortunately, those are the kinds of stories and incidents that don't get reported. It's not news for something like that, but it happens every single day. Every single day, they're committing acts of violence against people that we just don't hear about. And
you see how they get a little more complicated propaganda out there now. Because back in the day, it was very simple. it was like Law and Order, and they had their TV shows. But now I saw that video. I retweeted. I made a comment on it. Just roasting. Everyone was roasting it. Where they had those actor, the models, those 10 out of 10 cops. they try to bring the attractive ones out. They're trying to win our hearts over. And it was like, I
Did
am
you?
not your enemy.
Oh my god.
Yes, I am not your enemy. Nah, sir, I don't believe you. I think you kind of look like my enemy right now, bro. So they constantly
Did
do
you
that kind of
see?
stuff.
Did you see the I believe it was in Philadelphia, the cop who was holding the baby,
Oh
and
yeah, I saw that one.
yeah, and that was fake. Yeah, now that's propaganda. I think
Yeah,
of how many people saw that picture and thought, oh God, those terrible rioters, they just left a baby walking on broken glass, and they never came back to see that was a lie. That was a
yeah.
complete lie. They ripped that woman out of her car, brutalized her, and then took the baby to take a picture with it.
That's why I have
Like,
that's why I have faith in
Wow.
our generation, because I was talking about that before, because the older generation, they'll just eat this shit up all day because now they got advanced social media campaigns. They'll show cops and they're like, "Oh, God bless you, you hero." Now our
yeah,
generation and Gen Z, we see this shit. We was like, "Get the fuck!" Like that video came out, we was like, "Get the fuck out of here." So it's like
yeah.
the one good thing we see, even though we still have a government that is pro cop, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think their bullshit doesn't work on our generation no more. Like we can see through the propaganda so easily. Um, I want to get Jay Stars on here. 'Cause I know you jumped in the chat. Jay, glad you joined us, Jay.
I'm
So
gonna I'm gonna actually go because I do have to get ready for
there
an
we go.
action tonight. But it was really nice talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Abby. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I'll talk
Have a
to you
Abby.
good
soon.
time.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye. So
And there was
cool. So Jay
Hi,
pretty much
Jay.
just tagged in for her. That works perfectly for
Mhm.
me. Like I said, we just doing
Yeah.
a chill post selection. But anyway, but the original question, I don't know if you missed it, Jay, was why I support defund the police. I went on my long tangent on that. So, what's your thoughts on that issue in general? I'm gonna throw you on the spot. And do you support defund the police? And what do you think the future of policing should be?
Of course, I support defund the police. Like hell,
Yeah, hell yeah.
that's a no brainer. I mean,
I
for
thought
some,
so. I
I
didn't want
mean,
to
for
assume.
for for me to even hesitate with that is like, what the hell? Like, where have you been living? Like, dude, look,
I get my lunch
I
though.
lived in some of the worst parts of Orlando, Florida, so I know how things are. In fact, yesterday, a block from me, there was this huge influx of Orange County sheriff just en masse sitting in the spot. I don't know if somebody got shot. I don't know if there was a robbery, something, but there were at least 10 squad cars sitting on a little parking lot all at one time.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, maybe they're preparing for election results. I don't know. But I'm like, why would they be here? They should be in the white part of town, where you have all the Trump supporters. Um,
Why? Trump took Florida.
yeah. Um,
Trump got so many votes.
well, this was
Like
before we knew the results.
I know it makes sense
Uh,
because it's a presidential campaign, but when you actually think about it, like, yo, 70 million people voted for Trump, like, that's actually crazy. But go ahead, Jay. I
that's exactly what I was trying to tell you guys on Monday. Like everybody
Yeah.
was like, "Oh no, it's going to be a landslide for Biden." Why?
Oh no.
I saw
I thought
no
Trump was
evidence
going
of
to
that at
win.
all.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was ringing the warning sign. I told people like, man, if you have someone like Kamala Harris on the ticket, you can get hurt down ballot. I said that right when she got elected, when she got chosen VP. I'm like, yo, even if Biden wins this, he might like Kamala might hurt that ticket down ballot. And that's literally what happened because that what they literally were gaslighting people about. They say, hey, they use that as an excuse to attack Bernie because Bernie was doing well against Trump in the polls. So they had to find a way to attack Bernie still. So they said, well, if you elect Bernie Sanders, you'll hurt yourself down ballot on down ballot races. And it's funny that literally the exact same thing they said was gonna happen with Bernie pretty much happened with Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris 100% came in and hurt this ticket. Like if
yeah,
you just look at the numbers before and the numbers after, like Donald Trump did better with the black vote than almost any Republican candidate in the modern era, and the black vote dipped significantly once Kamala Harris was chosen as the running mate for Joe Biden. So a lot of
I
people like
can't
to
think of
push.
anyone. I can't think of anyone in the primary that got rejected more soundly than Kamala.
Exactly, and the voters knew that.
She knew well in advance that she was going to lose California, which is why she dropped out.
You know, she didn't want to take the embarrassment because she
Even
knew it
if
would hurt.
Warren had a chance of possibly winning, we knew she would. If she didn't get first, she'd come in second. But Kamala was going to come in like ninth in California. Like it was
Yeah.
going to be
Oh,
embarrassing.
we know her here.
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, everyone I
There's
talked
no
to
way-
from
like, I wasn't gonna
California
vote for
absolutely
us.
hates her.
we do. That's what we're telling you. We can't stand her. I was asked. The Kadem is like right across the street from where I work, and I have these women at when it was going on. They were like, I guess, reporters, and they were sitting at my table, and they were like, I was like, oh, you guys are for the convention, and they're like, yeah, are you voting? And I'm like, yeah, and they're like, who are you voting for? I said Bernie Sanders, and they were like, because this was during the primary, and they were like,
Yeah.
why aren't you voting for a woman? And I'm like, well, mainly because Nia Turner's not running. If she was, I'd vote for her, but she's not. So here we are. And they were just like,
like the
Yeah.
MSNBC brain
What?
just blew.
yeah, they were like, but Harris and Warren, and I'm like, are snakes. What's your point? Like, what are we doing here? Like, I'm not voting for either one of them.
They're like,
They
Nick,
just
you're such a
couldn't like they couldn't
misogynist.
wrap their minds around it. Like a black woman not voting for a black woman. Why the hell would I vote for Kamala Harris?
They always
So-
call me a misogynist, but I vote for Jill Stein, so I always bring it up, and they always get.
Yeah.
I did
mad. They get so mad anytime I bring it up. But go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was just going to say I was actually at that convention covering it as press, and the bullshit they try to prop up Pelosi. There are people out there with like Pelosi signs, like they're any real world Pelosi fans. They're and they march around the convention. The convention's set up with all these little conference rooms, and you can tell how popular people really are based on the noise. So wherever Bernie would go, you'd hear like rock star music. It would be like if he was in the next room to
Yeah.
you,
Yep.
you'd hear all that noise. And then
Mhm.
everybody else, nothing. Nobody else had any pizzazz.
No one
I mean,
ever
some-
had the rock star reaction that Bernie Sanders had.
Yeah,
like-
but
Yeah.
but this is even like it's pretty much an exclusive insider Democratic Party event. So even people in the party
That's
in
crazy.
California were rooting for Bernie, and it's all
that's what-
propaganda about everybody else.
That was one of the first indicators that Kamala wasn't going to do that well with me. Is when I was just hearing from people from California about Kamala, because I tell the story all the time how when Kamala was first kind of rolled out when she made her campaign, and I was initially worried because it was obvious they were trying to prop her up. I was like, man, if they do this right, they can carry her through the media. If she can pretend to be progressive and continue to support Medicare for all and lie about it, I could see her being a threat, but they couldn't hold that. But then I actually would hear about people from California that gave me great detail about her prosecutor record and the people that actually followed her from the very beginning of her career who was not happy. And I was like, yo, that's not a good sign to have people
Right.
very vocally waving the red flag and talking about you so early in your campaign. So it was. I wasn't. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I was just gonna say, if she ever actually had a shot at winning the nomination, the opposition research on her from her prosecutorial record
Yeah.
that the media never even got a glimpse at. I mean,
So
She's the
Democrats are
worst.
they're making a very big gamble now because now after Joe Biden might potentially win the election, it seems like it may go his way so far. You'd have had Kamala Harris as the de facto leader, the Democrats going in 2024 if she decides to run after Joe Biden steps down, which me and Jackie been very vocally predicting that we think Joe Biden probably will step down. I give him maybe at least 2 years. I don't know if Jackie is as nice as I am,
Not even
but
close.
I was like, man, I think he may try to hold on just. I think he may hold on just because he knows people are talking about it. But I'd be shocked if he lasts a whole.
And it's not about his will as when he wants to give it up. It's about his mind and when he can no longer do the job.
Yeah, it's clear he can.
And he's not gonna make it a full year. But also I think like how people were talking about Pelosi was bringing up the 25th Amendment.
Yeah.
Everybody is starting to say they're not doing that for Trump. They're doing that for Biden
That's a good
so that they
point.
can install Harris.
Plant the seeds. That's a
So
very
they're,
good
yeah,
point.
they're setting it up. They're getting everything ready so that they're waiting for the transition. So as soon as Biden's in office, they're going to be like, oh, something he had another what is it? He's had not seizures, but he had
A
like
5-year
aneurysm or
stutter.
something. No, he had actual brain problems, like an aneurysm or something like that, didn't he?
Yeah, he had an aneurysm.
Yeah. So they'll just be like, oh, he had another one.
2.
25th Amendment time, boom, Harris. And
Do
I
you
think that'll
think?
happen before the end of 2021.
Do you think Biden the last 4 years, Jay? What do you think? What do you think about that?
You know what? From what Jackie just said, this makes perfect sense. Because if they try to run another centrist neoliberal white guy in 2024, guess
Oh my
what?
God,
It's
yeah.
not going to work. The only way that they can possibly have a shot is they have somebody who's in the presidency that has never been there before, a black woman. And that's the only way they can try to at least kind of eke out another victory. If they try to eke out another victory, even with another black man, it's not going to work. So they're going to try their shot with Kamala. So they're going to be like, well, I've been vice president. And because of the 25th Amendment, I've been president for a little bit. So I'm running for actual election now. So, hey, here we go. And then Kamala does a couple years. And then
Yep.
she has 2 terms on top of that. It's actually kind of a brilliant move when you
That's
think about it.
brutal, man. That's so.
So
That's
I
so
kind of
And
see
evil.
it.
the incumbent always has the advantage. So if
Yeah.
she becomes president during his term in 2024, she's the incumbent, even though she wasn't voted in. And the
Yeah.
incumbent, that's why I keep saying like it's easier for Trump to win than for Biden because there's so much backing behind the incumbent, no matter how unpopular they are. There's
Yeah.
like the system is in play is structured so that the incumbent has the advantage.
Right.
Mm.
So
Mm.
So
my
she
opinion on
once she
this,
gets in, she stays.
I think you're right that she's going to replace Biden, but I don't see any benefit to the party to do it until maybe the third year. I mean, if Biden is just going to be a big dope that says and does dumb things, that's perfect for the party.
Yeah,
Then
that's a good point.
they can swoop in with Kamala at the end and save the fact that he didn't do shit for us for the whole. My mic keeps falling, but you know
So you think they're gonna Reagan him?
they're
Where,
going to
like, they
Reagan
just prop
him
him up
and
and have
then
her run everything, but have
have
him
They
her
just, like,
love
the
doing
face.
Well, she'll come in the end as somebody that didn't exactly put forward the policies that Biden did. That was Biden's campaign. And then she's here. She can say, okay, in 2024, we need some Senate seats and I'm going to do this, you know?
Yeah, I can
So you
easily see
think
that.
they're setting up their own failure because they know they're not gonna do shit. And then they're going to blame it on
Exactly.
Biden, have Kamala switch it out and be like, oh, fresh blood. Look, black woman here to fix everything. And
Yep.
then hoping that that momentum will sweep them into the next election. That also makes sense. Only time will tell. We have another question. This one is mainly for you guys because Pat and I are in California. So FXF Nori said, I voted Howie and live in a super red Texas. How are you all dealing with backlash? So first of all,
So
if you guys like, we didn't really go through who we all voted for. I did vote Green, but I live in California, so nobody gives a shit.
yeah, I voted
What about you
Green. I
guys?
voted Green as well. I voted Howie. In Missouri, we in a very particular situation because a lot of people think I'm more unreasonable than I am. I'm not that unreasonable. It's just Joe Biden is disqualified for the billion reasons that we laid out. I have hours of content on my channel, on Twitch, and on YouTube. I have countless tweets laying out why Joe Biden is disqualified. But I understand electoral strategy to a certain degree. And one thing I have been saying is that Joe Biden and Donald Trump are so awful that I wouldn't mind a situation where Joe Biden loses, but we have a Democratic Senate. So I voted for Howie Hawkins for president, but I voted against the Republican senators in my state. I didn't. To be fair, I didn't know too much about the Democratic incumbent challenging the senator, but I voted against them because I was like, we gotta defeat them at the end of the day. So that was my mindset. But I did vote Green because I wanted to help them get 5%. But third parties took a beating in this election because it was so much propaganda that have been thrown against voting third party, and I was throwing a little side. I was like, if anyone who thought me voting third party was gonna tank Democrats, it's like, hey, you can apologize for me any moment now because this is exactly what we've been saying. Like they waste so much time. That's why they didn't get the wins and the gains they expected to. Like they should easily took the Senate. They should have gained some House seats, and they could have literally destroyed MAGA and buried MAGA. But whether Trump wins or not, MAGA is still gonna be alive because they let this election be so close. Now Trump can put benefit of the doubt because they didn't absolutely crush MAGA the way they should have. So because they were so busy lecturing Breonna Joy Gray and Ryan Knight, people who live in blue states, they so busy lecturing me, a black guy who live in a deep red state that haven't went blue since like the fucking 70s. So like you guys are wasting your time arguing with me instead of hitting the phones. And they thought we were saying that shit as a meme. Like, no, I wasn't memeing. Like, no, you guys should actually hit the phone and go after battleground states. Like, if you guys hit the phone and call Florida, maybe y'all wouldn't have lost Florida. Maybe I would have turned Texas blue if y'all hit the phone and called in Texas a little more. You never know. But that was our point from day one. So I
I don't
actually
think
haven't
Florida
felt
was ever a battleground state. I
my
don't know why
point.
people did.
Yeah,
Biden didn't even have campaign offices in some of the states.
my point is I voted for Howie, and it's kind of funny how I don't feel like I wasted my vote at all. I don't, I feel like I did exactly what I wanted to do. I voted for the only candidate who was supporting Medicare fraud that was on my ballot. Um, yeah, PSL they wasn't on my ballot in Missouri, but Howie Hawkins the only candidate I could vote for who supported Medicare fraud, so I voted for him. It was that simple.
What about you, Jay?
I voted for Howie Hawkins. Um, I was impressed with the policies. It's just like what I would tell to see somebody on CNN or MSNBC. It's the policy, stupid.
Yeah.
Um, so I live in Florida, okay, and so I got a lot of heat for voting green in Florida because they're like, "Oh my God, you're in Florida, you need to vote blue." I'm like,
Not
no,
really.
no, I don't need to vote blue. I don't care if I'm in a swing state. My if I feel that Joe Biden is beyond the pale, he's going to be beyond the pale whatever state I'm in. So why would I only vote to make sure that he wins if I don't think he should win? It doesn't make sense. This whole safe state, not safe state bullshit to me
Exactly.
doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna vote green. I don't care if I'm the deciding vote. I'm gonna vote green.
That's the
You
whole
hear that,
move.
liberals? I don't care
That's the whole
if I'm the
move.
deciding vote. I'm still gonna vote my conscience. It's my vote. So they can fuck off with that. Now, um, when it comes to the heat that I've gotten, saying that my vote doesn't matter, and mind you, I got this from family. Okay, so when you have people telling you that your vote doesn't matter, it's like, you know what? I'm gonna prove to you that it doesn't matter. That it does matter. And they fucked around, and now they're finding out.
Yep.
Just like what Nick said, that's what they did. Um, the you know when it comes to policy, one of the things that I looked at that I was deeply impressed by was the Social Security policy. As many people know, I am disabled. So those of us who are disabled or who are retired, we get Social Security, um, disability. People who are retired, we get Social Security retirement, and we are just but a hair's breadth above poverty. And the Hawkins campaign and the Green Party platform, period, wants to double your benefits. That's huge.
Right.
I don't hear Biden wanting to double your benefits. Sure as
Right.
hell Trump
Biden
doesn't.
actually tried to freeze him when he was in the Senate.
Oh,
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
and I
Several
was raising a
times.
flag because like, man, you have Joe Biden who's about to be a leader, apparently,
Hmm.
and you have Mitch McConnell who's about to be the Senate Majority Leader again. So the old power's about to
Yeah.
hook up to,
Hmm.
and now this is the nightmare scenario. The
Yeah.
nightmare scenario that I would love to prevent it because, like I said, I wouldn't mind if Trump won and with a Democratic Senate. that scenario doesn't scare me that much. Because maybe the Democrat Senate can block the absolute worst they can do, or maybe they'll work with them. But now we have a scenario we know for a fact is going to end in tragedy, where we have Joe Biden with a Republican Senate. Because now the Republican Senate is going to give Joe Biden all the excuse in the world to not only ignore progressive policy and progressive change, now he can use the Republican Senate as a way to reach across the aisle for bipartisanship. Because Joe Biden was very, very open about the fact that he think the Republicans are going to have an epiphany post Trump, and that after Trump that he would be willing to work with Republicans um, to push trigger down economics and U.S. imperialism, because that what that means. Because bipartisanship isn't rare; it's just when the government screws you. Because that's one of the biggest misconceptions. They're like, well, no, the Republicans and Democrats they never work together. No, that's not true. They actually work together all the time. Like when they made Bush tax cuts permanent, like when they do corporate bailouts, when they do that cut shit like that, when they vote against congressional approval for war, when they vote to approve the Patriot Act and expand it. Trust me, they work bipartisan all the time, and you'll see that cranked up to a 10 now. Because Biden gonna reach across the aisle, and he'd love to work with those Senate Republicans, and that's something that kind of worries me, seeing the result of this election more than anything, more than basic Trump derangement syndrome. And one thing that Joe Biden and the Republican Senate agree on is that Iran should pay, Russia should pay, and we're gonna see them ramp up tensions with them, ramp up sanctions against those countries. And you want to ask me who I think is the lesser of two evils? They asked me that when I was on the convo couch. I'm like, bro, that's not. I don't think it's not lesser of two evil when you got two people that will sanction the shit out of countries. Like, how do you weigh the body count out? There's I'm like, bro, that's a weird question to ask me. Like, you have Joe Biden who propping up the fascist police state, and the police gonna be shooting people, black people, under Donald Trump, just like they did under Barack Obama, just like they're gonna do under Joe Biden. It's gonna be the same shit that's gonna happen. So how you weigh those bodies out? That's what I always ask. So
And how does anyone know who the lesser evil is like 5 years from now from
yeah,
the effect
exactly.
of this election? From the effect of Democrats just folding and accepting this shit sandwich. Maybe
And
our long-term country is better off, even if Trump is just the most vile person on earth, but it reforms the Democratic Party at the end of this or something, in theory,
wait,
like nobody
Trump is
knows.
not the most vile
Yeah.
person on earth. That's the thing that gets me. First of all, hey RJ, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Trump derangement syndrome is a hell of a drug. He's not even as bad as George W. Bush was. We've had worse presidents. Is he good? No. But he's not Hitler. He's not the devil incarnate. Like, people need to just chill the fuck out on that.
and
He's
people
not.
get so crazy when you say stuff like that. But if you look at the amount of people that are affected by these policies, and Trump, he affected a lot of people with his policies. But if you look at the million dead Iraqi from George Bush, when you look at Hurricane Katrina, when you look at the economic collapse that he was responsible for, I criticize Obama with how he responded to that collapse, but George Bush was the architect of it by pushing failed trickle down economics. So how can you look at Trump and his body count, which I don't even know is even more than George Bush overall. I know he ramped up imperialism from those days, but when you look at George Bush's body count, what he did to erode our freedoms, and the fact that he was the president was able to get the Patriot Act as far as it did, and he literally created this surveillance state and gave the powers that set the precedent for the level of expansion of those federal powers that Barack Obama expanded on. Because when Obama expanded on the NSA and he expanded on the Patriot Act, he was working on precedent that George Bush set. So it's like, so Jackie point, like, yeah, I agree with that. Like, how can you say someone's better than, how can you say he's better than Trump? Like, Trump is bad. I can break down Trump record all day, but Trump is only allowed to do what he has done because of George Bush. And the Republican Party is as racist and as unhinged as it is now because of the Lincoln Project, because of their boys. And that's why I was laughing at them this election. They need a reckoning. I want to get RJ in here too, because I know he joined. I'm gonna get your perspective on this, because Lincoln Project took a giant L because Trump support from Republicans was like 90%, in 2016, and now it's 93% in 2020. So the argument that literally anyone with a rational mind that has been making, and what we've been making on this show, is how are you gonna try to drag Republicans to the left when you guys created a system where they already racist and they're already far right? Of course they're gonna team up with Trump. They like Trump. Trump is pushing their interests. Trump stacked the court in the right wing favor. Why would they turn against him? Like he won. Like Mitch McConnell and Trump won. As for if you're looking at it from a right wing perspective, why would they turn on them? It never made any sense. So it was a giant grift.
So, one thing I will say is that there's a complete political realignment happening right now. I mean, Trump has had a net loss of 5% of white voters compared to Joe Biden, so Joe Biden gained that. The reason why Joe Biden is winning is because of white suburbanites in the suburbs, but at the same time, the reason why it's so close, even electorally through the Electoral College, is because Trump has made huge grounds among Florida Cubans, Hispanic Cubans, and Hispanics in the Southwest, in Arizona, um, or was it Arizona, and then there's another one, Nevada as well. And so what we're seeing right now is that the Republican Party is trying to basically do what the Democratic Party has done to black people. You know, black people are synonymous with the Democratic Party 90% every election through and throughout. I feel in my head that Republicans have found that gold mine. They latched into it. Now they realize, hey, we have an opportunity here. These people, these voters, these Hispanic voters, they believe what we're selling, and we know that if we keep doing what's in their best interest, they're going to come out and vote for us. And that part really shocked me. And really, there's a guy named Chuck Rocha, who was the senior advisor for Bernie Sanders' campaign for Latino outreach. He actually asked Biden, hey, you might want to have me give you advice on how to reach out to those Latinos in Florida, as well as in Southwest and the United States. Never answered his phone. So he lost that. And also, too, to go back to Lincoln Project, their whole strategy was to go after Republicans, especially in the establishment, and flip to the Democrats. But that only pissed off Trump people and increased his turnout by 3%. So like 93% of Republican voters are now behind Donald Trump. And so what Democrats don't realize is this goes back into Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has to be the biggest and most evil mastermind in political life in our lifetimes. This is a man who not only kept his power, kept the Senate, but at the same time got rid of Donald Trump, which is his biggest liability. I mean, think about it. He took a risk on putting someone on the Supreme Court, which would have, against any other president, would have been a complete electoral disaster. So not only does he keep the Supreme Court, he keeps all the federal judge picks across the country. Nearly two-thirds of all federal judges have been really appointed by Republicans. And then if you look at the state legislatures, nearly two-thirds of all state legislatures are controlled by Republicans too. So if you have a court battle in this country where Donald Trump, like he said in his private life, take me to the court. Well, Democrats are going to have a tough going if Donald Trump takes them to the court. Because you got the Supreme Court 6-3, you got the federal judge picks. Mitch McConnell actually said, hey, when we go back to the Senate, the first thing I'm doing is appointing more federal judges. So that's
that's what I was saying. I was saying we may have a constitutional crisis on the hands based on how unhinged Trump has been. I haven't watched his Twitter recently, but Twitter has been putting flags all over his account because Twitter trying their best to try and prevent a civil war with their censorship or whatever. But the thing is, like, you guys could have had a giant working class movement of young people on your side, ready to go to war. Imagine Bernie Sanders was a nominee, and you have MAGA threatening to steal the election from them. Bro, we'd be ready to hit the streets so fast. Bro, we'd be all up in Trump Tower. We'd be all up. We will be ready to flip. We were ready to burn the shit down that happened. But what would happen if MAGA did that to Trump, to Joe Biden? We already saw how the Ruth Bader Ginsburg brunch riots was kind of a failure. They pretty much got nowhere with their burn it down philosophy when it came to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And a lot of them were literally called bluffing. They was like, y'all I'm ready to fuck shit up if they put another Supreme Court justice in. Meanwhile, crickets. Meanwhile, a lot of them supported them because they were caught off guard by her girl power. or whatever. They saw a white woman being elected for Supreme Court, and they got pacified in a quick second. So that was a brilliant move by Trump, because you know how they think. And he just got charming. I didn't know that much. I know she's a horrific judge and based on philosophy. I didn't watch the trial because of political theater, but based on what I've seen, she was pretty charming, right? Like she now put out the act. Like she now act like the innocent white girl. So they didn't stand a chance. So what will you see that team going against Trump that will already have the Supreme Court in his favor trying to steal the election? My whole thing is like on principle, I want to have your back, but I'm not going first. I'm not gonna throw my body out there for you. You better put up a strong stand. You guys better show me how much you want it. And then if you guys are making some noise, then I guess I might throw some help in. If once you guys got the situation under control, I don't know how you guys feel, but that's how I feel.
So you're the U.S. in dealing with like world relations.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, if you guys can make it interesting, and if you guys need a little extra help to push you over the finish line, I might help. But I'm not going first. I'm not gonna throw my body out there for Joe Biden. And my thing is, you could have had us. You could have had a loyal young babes that would have done that. Plus, you would have had the brunch crowd, which actually the brunch crowd would probably help steal it from Bernie. They probably would vote for Trump at the end of the day. Who knows?
I don't think that like the one pushback that I'm going to give is you said that Mitch McConnell was like a political genius. No, he's not. He's just got power and he knows how to keep it. The political, like the real mastermind pulling the strings that like not now, but for the longest was Karl Rove. He was the crazy guy that was like the puppeteer that like was Satan that wouldn't die. Mitch McConnell just kind of lucked into all of this, and that everybody, like, again, the system is set up for him, is set up to keep him in power, which is why Amy McGrath never had a chance. So him doing the things he's doing, like anybody in his position would have done that and would be able to keep their power. All you have to do is attain a certain level of power, and then it's up to you whether you want to step down, but nobody's gonna take it from you because the system is set up this way. We have another question. Meganator asks, Maine has ranked choice voting now, and Susan Collins is still leading. How are we going to change that dynamic?
Personally, didn't Suzanne Collins just get called? She won. So, I mean, and also, too, Sarah Gideon, her opponent, she conceded the race. So Susan Collins will be in the Senate. I don't know if that caller or person knows about that yet.
Probably not, but I think her point was with ranked choice voting in Maine, Susan Collins still won. Yeah. And to me, that just means that their Maine is more conservative than people think, which is my entire point on Monday was that everybody's assuming there's going to be this blue tsunami. And I'm like, yeah, but there's also going to be a red one to match. And people are forgetting that. Like with mail-in voting, everybody can vote again. Like, yes, it does normally go for the Democrats, but people who would normally sit it out, who are Republicans who maybe don't like Trump, are like, oh, well, I don't want Biden. So they'll vote, like people who didn't vote for Trump in 2016. And there's evidence of that because, like you said, in 2016, he only had 90%. Now he has 93%.
Yeah, the whole Susan... Go ahead, RJ, and I'll chime in.
Yeah, I want to add on to what Jackie said. So also, too, you're seeing a phenomenon where people would want to vote Biden because Trump is so repulsive to them, yet they'll still vote for Republicans down ballot. That's why you guys have guys like Lindsey Graham, who's horribly unpopular nationally, yet he's still able to win.
That's how Cara Eastman lost I think she was in Nebraska, even though Nebraska went for Biden. So it's like these Karens are not on our side. Go ahead, RJ, but that's a good point.
And also, too, if you look at white men, Trump is still leading that category by 58 to 40. Trump is still leading white women right now. He actually increased it by 3%.
He's still winning white women?
That's based off what I've seen so far.
The demographic that I saw, the only area that Trump went down was white men. White women, he went up.
Black Are you kidding?
And women, he went up. Latinos, he skyrocketed. That's what I was trying to say before.
Bro, Karen's was like, trying so hard to pat themselves on the back before.
Right.
That's funny. I actually didn't see that. Y'all broke that to me. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So basically,
white women did again. They did it again.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
said on Monday. Remember, I said if Trump wins, it's going to be the white women who came out again,
I actually
and
didn't see
they
that coming.
did.
That's funny as hell. I thought that Trump actually might lose the white women vote this time.
Mm,
Well,
That's
I
why
don't
I was
know.
busting. I was busting their balls just 'cause I was like, they might fix their mistake, but they actually did again. That's why that's so funny. 'Cause y'all just broke that to me. Damn, that's
well,
hilarious.
actually too, evangelicals have really came out for Trump this time because look at all the Supreme Court judges,
Yep.
all the federal judge
Hmm.
picks. I mean, the Supreme Court has had some crackdowns apparently because of religious liberty and freedom. So they've definitely came out for him in droves.
And
So I
that's on
mean,
Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer cutting all these deals with Mitch McConnell and Trump so they can put those right wing judges on the court. That gave them a giant victory. I mean, we can dislike that all they want, but if you're a right wing evangelical, how can you treat that anything other than a campaign promise kept from Trump? You know what I mean? Like, so we're against that, but they can use that to rally their base. So once again, when I see Democrats make these missteps, and people will ask me why I'm so busy criticizing Democrats, and I'm like, because your missteps that I'm criticizing is helping the Republican Party. How is that hard to see? Like when I go after Chuck Schumer and when I go after Nancy Pelosi for being complicit with helping Trump get the wall done, voting for a trade deal, going with him on U.S. imperialism, you are helping him rally his base. You're helping him get his agenda done so he can have something to brag about on election day. And they wonder why they have a disappointing result throughout the country in terms of down ballot and why they barely was able to beat Donald Trump. This is not a hard game politics. It's really not. Like you shouldn't be giving Trump these unnecessary victories. If you at any point that you work with Republicans, you work with Republicans the way Bernie Sanders does. What did Bernie Sanders do when he worked with Republicans? He worked with Republicans like he worked with John McCain to give expanded VA benefits. He would work with anti-war Republicans like Mike Lee to get he will get past the Senate resolution to end the support the genocide in Yemen, for example. This is the kind of bipartisanship that you see out of Bernie Sanders. That's not the bipartisanship that you see out like the standard Democratic Party, and that was the overall point that I made earlier. Is Joe Biden with the Senate? What kind of bipartisan deals you gonna see them make, and especially with this COVID crisis, I'm not trusting Joe Biden with a Republican Senate to give any relief to working people anytime soon. And I made this point on the last show. Now that we're after the election, they're gonna try to use the election to cover up the real issues that's going on. But now we're gonna have a ton of businesses closing in the next few weeks. We're gonna have a homelessness crisis ramp up. So what are we gonna see? Um, the Republican senators do now? They feel like they have this mandate. And also I did want to chime in on the Susan Collins things and on ranked choice voting in general because it's very disappointing because they had ranked choice voting on the ballot in Massachusetts, I believe, and there was another state I think it's Indiana, but hopefully I'm not mistaken that there was two states that had ranked choice voting on the ballot. Massachusetts won for sure, but they lost the ballot referendum. So once again, ask me if I feel bad with my Green Party vote. Meanwhile, Democrats are keep voting against ranked choice voting. They're not backing that as a policy solution.
Yeah. And I mean, people always think California is so super lefty, and we just voted yes on Prop
Yeah.
22, which just enables the gig economy. So stop thinking Californians are like super progressive because we aren't.
Yeah,
We're
but
not. We really aren't.
it's a
Well,
neoliberal hellhole. I
it's
rip
not
y'all.
even the neoliberals. Honestly, California is like every other state where the big cities go Democrat, all the rural areas are conservative. California is a really large state. It just so happens that the majority of people are in those big cities. It's like what, 5 big cities that have the majority of the population. But if you take away those big cities, California is a red state, just like everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, I look at California and it blows me away. All they keep constantly reelecting that. Like she won by a landslide, which everyone knew that was gonna happen. People were like, "Why are you surprised? Um, why are you so surprised that you didn't think that Shaheed really gonna win, right?" I'm like, "No, I didn't really think he's gonna win, but we can't normalize. I feel like we shouldn't normalize the fact that someone like Nancy Pelosi is electable, let alone winning by landslides." Like,
The
how does that
only
happen? Like, I'm like, even though we knew that gonna happen, I'm not gonna normalize it. I give it the appropriate reaction. Like any country that elects Nancy Pelosi over Shahid Buttar in a landslide, that's a failed state, son. That's a state that should burn. What are you about to say, RJ?
So I was going to speak on that actually. So there was the Hill came out with a report earlier today. So Nancy Pelosi, when she became Speaker of the House in 2018, she flipped. Well, the Democrats flipped 42 seats in the House. Right, that was the most since 1960.
Right.
The Democrats this time around, they've lost half of those seats they won in 2018. And so far, a lot of centrist Democrats are talking about replacing her as Speaker of the House. Like it's actually for
Yeah,
real
I
this
saw that
time.
story. I haven't looked into it yet. That's why I didn't want to bring it up yet.
I'll
But
believe it when I
what are
see
the
it.
details on that? Are they actually going to oppose Pelosi this time? Because that's the question I was bringing up. Because the squad is in a great position at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Like as even though people want to criticize the squad, if you look at how they're standing politically, objectively, they was a lot. They had opponents invest a lot into the race, and they still won comfortably. and in those scenarios, and I think we need the progressive leaders now that the first term has passed. Now we've seen how this experiment is going, and we know that they're safe. We need them to really take a stand on this Pelosi issue. Now that Pelosi and Mitch McConnell won again, we cannot have them come back as leadership. Like that's we gotta start organizing and planning the resistance now because having Pelosi in charge with Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell, I have no faith that Mitch McConnell not gonna be the Senate leader, but having
Percent.
Pelosi as the leader in this scenario, we can't let that happen. And if the squad doesn't really put up a very very strong fight, I'm not gonna. I'm. I guess I'm a little bit of a softie because I'm not gonna shit on them if they try to fight it and they can't win. I'm not gonna like that'd be kind. I feel like that'd be bad faith unless they did something horrible. If they got to at least try, but they don't try. That's a big stain on the squad coming into second term, as far as I'm concerned. What you guys think about Pelosi potentially as Speaker of the House? What is that? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think she'll be speaker again. I mean, they talked about a coup in, was it 2018? And, somebody ran against her and got like 3 votes or something. So yeah, she'll be back. I have no doubt. But
Yeah.
What
and I'm
what
gonna
else?
tap out. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta take off.
It's all good, Pat. Thanks for
Leave
coming
some
on,
space
bro.
for you guys. Cheers.
Okay, bye, Pat.
Bye.
Yeah, we in the Ask Me Anything part. 'Cause we about an hour in. We can take questions for another 30 minutes or so.
I'm looking at the Electoral College because I was like, I wonder what it is right now. And is it just me or is anybody else thinking that like mainstream media is pushing Biden hard?
Yeah, of
Oh,
course.
Like super hard, because as I'm looking at this map, I'm doing the math, and because they were like there are 88 more votes left, and they have Biden at 248, so it looks like he's going to win, right, to Donald Trump's 214, and you have to get to 270, and then you look at the map, and when you look at the map, they have Arizona automatically going for Biden, so that's how he gets to 248, right? But
Yeah.
then when you scroll down and you look at the actual states that aren't done, Arizona's not done. So he's in the lead.
They're saying Nevada and Arizona will be like the two biggest deciders, and it seems like
No, I
this.
honestly think it's gonna be Pennsylvania more than Nevada and Arizona. Arizona may actually flip for
I thought
Biden.
I thought Trump was last time I saw Pennsylvania, Trump was doing pretty well. Let me see where they're at right now.
He is. So the reason, like,
Yeah,
I
so
just
that
did the math on
I
that.
always assumed that Trump would win Pennsylvania, but apparently what I've been hearing is if Biden can win Nevada and Arizona, even if he loses Pennsylvania, he can seal that up. Is that correct?
That's correct, actually. So the scenario is that if Biden wins Arizona and Nevada, and also wins Georgia, it's basically over. What Trump needs to do
He's
right
not
now
gonna
is
win Georgia.
he said Biden's not gonna
I'm
win
gonna see
Georgia,
where
but
they at
No.
Georgia real quick on a quick.
So right
Okay,
now
the results right now with 96% reporting, Georgia is
Oh yeah, Trump is up.
Trump is at 50.1%. Biden is at 48.7%. That's 96% reporting.
They
Odds
still
are
ain't called
more
it
of
yet.
that is going to go towards Trump because Georgia's a very red state.
Yeah, because
Um,
a lot of the city areas, uh, like Atlanta been in, Savannah's in, like those went blue, but everything else is like solid red, and it's like that's the concept that kind of coming up next, right? If I'm
yeah.
looking at this right.
Michigan, it looks like is going to go for Biden because it's 99% reporting, but the reason why I'm like not 100% is because it's literally 49.9% to 48.6%. And that 1%, like I don't know, that 1% would give him, like, it would still technically eke out to Biden, but that's a damn close race. Because
Meg,
if
Meg,
that 1% goes to Trump, you have 49.9 versus 49.6, and that is
Meg in the chat
easily a
said Arizona was
contestable state.
called.
So like
They called for
if
Biden.
Michigan, I know they call it for Biden,
Okay.
but it's only 84% reporting, so that's kind of interesting, and it is still close because 51 to 47%, 47.6% to 51% is close, and with only 84% reporting, it could, I think that could still kind of go either way, which is why I'm like, is it just me, or are they like really trying to make it seem like Biden is winning, even though there's still a lot to go down? Like with with Michigan, I think that's going to be a contested state just because it's
Right.
so damn close. Same
Is it
thing with
where is Michigan
Nevada.
at? Let's see.
Michigan right now is at 99% reporting,
Yep.
49.9% for Biden, 48.6% for Trump. One more percent. If Trump takes that 1%, you have a situation where it's 49.9 and 49.6.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking
Like
at it
the,
Yeah.
the
now.
actual raw vote
I'm
count is
seeing here
2,000,000.
now. They said there's a possibility that Nevada, maybe I'll get the ballots done by tonight, and they can have Biden.
Nevada, like all these states are super close. So but it looks like Trump, yeah, Trump is definitely going to win Georgia. He's got a little bit of enough, but then again, like I said, Georgia's it's a red state, it's staying red.
So Nevada
Michigan
is
though,
literally
I think will
8,000.
be contested because if you look at the numbers, like the raw vote count, or the like vote count, it's 2,688,604 for Biden, 2,618,093 for Trump. That's a very close margin.
Yeah, it is. I'm looking at
That's an
Nevada
easily
now.
like contestable state, and it's got 16 electoral votes. Nevada is not as close, still close though, 49.3% for Biden to 48.7% for Trump. But here's the thing, that's only 75% reporting.
Matt said, "Have you heard about the MAGA protesters outside of the vote tally site in Detroit trying to stop the count?
Yeah,
Oh
see, I'm
my
from.
God.
How
Yeah,
they
I'm
gonna
from.
how they gonna do that? What is that?
But
Oh, let me see what happened. What? Let me
Oh,
look it up
look
on
at
Twitter.
this. Texas was supposed to be so close. Texas is solid red.
Boy, that boy Joe Biden pulled man, he really pulled a Beto O'Rourke in Texas, didn't he? Like they swear that Texas was about to go blue.
You know what? I have no idea why they think that, because everybody's saying like, oh, people from California who are, very liberal state are moving to Texas. First of all, not everybody who lives in California is liberal. We just covered that. Secondly, if that were the case, if there was an influx of people from California and like Washington to states like Arizona and Texas, wouldn't that make California purple now? Because if everybody that's leaving is blue, that would turn us closer to going red. Because if we're just losing a bunch of the blue, then the red would start to show through. That would make us purple. Nobody ever considers California as purple. That's why that whole argument like didn't really hold any water to me.
yeah,
yeah, I get
looking
what
at
you're saying. Yes,
go
I get
ahead.
what you're saying, but like, there's a whole lot of blue in California. So like, if you look at Texas, if you look at Arizona, Nevada, a whole lot of young people leave California and go to those areas for like better jobs. So they turn a red state to a purple state, while at the same time California is still blue. But just because people are Democrats in California doesn't necessarily mean they think like a Democrat. A lot of people who are Democrats really are just purple voters and are just conservatives as well. So I think that kind of plays into that demographic.
Well, that's what I said. Like I said earlier, California is more purple than people realize. California is solid blue because we have some of the largest cities in the nation. The anywhere you have a metropolitan area, the metropolitan area is almost always going to be blue. But most rural areas are red. California is a huge state, mostly rural areas. But we have so many people in those blue areas, the whole state goes blue. That's what I'm saying. So like if there's some kind of mass exodus from the cities, then that makes us closer to becoming purple.
So
So that's what I mean. Because I live in California. Trust me, California is not nearly as liberal as people think it is. Not close.
Yeah, trust me, I definitely know that. This is the
everybody lives. Most of the Democrats live in the city. Like I live in Orange County. Orange County is a red county. Los Angeles is a blue county. And the differences between the two counties, like people from Los Angeles tend to call Orange County the Orange Curtain, because like Reagan was from Orange County. Orange County is like rank file conservative, but we're right next to Los Angeles. Like you could just cross the street and you're in Los Angeles, which is entirely blue, like totally hippie blue and everything. Like, of course we have these services and everything. So just your address, for example, I vote in Los Angeles, even though I live in Orange County. I actually, because I used to live in Los Angeles and I just moved and I never bothered to change my address. So I vote in Los Angeles, which is again an entirely blue blue area. The main reason why I do that is because in Los Angeles you can vote anywhere in the county. If you are a LA County voter, you can vote anywhere. In Orange County, you have to go to your particular. It's like, here's your place. You have to go there. So if there's a long line, you got to wait. In LA, if I go someplace and there's a line, I can be like, fuck that, and go down the street. So like things are just way easier as far as voting is concerned in Los Angeles. Like, for example, it took me about 10 minutes to vote. There was no line at all. I just walked in, did it, walked out. That's it. And in Orange County, like there would be a bigger line because you have to go to your particular polling place, unless they changed it. But the last time I voted in Orange County, that was the case. So that's what I mean. Like it's not nearly as, I think we get this reputation for being an entire state of like liberal hippies, and we are the farthest thing from that. Like think of how many rich people live here. Rich people tend to be Republican. That's why I was surprised when people were talking about like Chris Pratt and they were like, oh, apparently he's Republican. I'm like, yeah.
I'm not surprised. Like people, I don't know how anyone's surprised when a rich motherfucker is a right winger. Like whenever I hear that shit, I'm like, okay. I'll be surprised when it's the other way around. I was looking at they'll start the vote protest that they was talking about in the chat here. I don't really have to pull the video up, but you can kind of hear him chat. But pretty much a lot of white people out there, and it's a very funny dynamic because it's a bunch of white people demanding that a lot of black votes not being counted. So you have that dynamic on top of that. But I was making fun of MAGA literally just the other day. Like how weak is your ideology that you have to rely on a technicality to win because you know that you're not going to win the battle of ideas at the end of the day. And I was laughing at PragerU because PragerU swear people like PragerU, Ben Shapiro, the right wing ilk, the so-called intellectuals of the right wing, they will promise that liberals or the left, I should say, is unhinged, unable to debate, win the battle of ideas. Meanwhile, they have to rely on winning an election with the less amount of votes. That's how they win, and they literally at these videos, they are trying to get people to stop voting or start counting the vote. Like, bro, that's a very weird flex. Like, so you're gonna take a stand against democracy just to own the libs? Is that where we at now in our society? That is that how you win? So this is why I don't. They almost clowned. Like, I wish we had a chance to go against MAGA in this election because they would have been so easy to beat. They pretty much lost to a walking corpse and an unpopular cop from California. Like how do you even let that happen? So when I see that video, it's more of the same clown shit that you expect out of MAGA. Is there any other questions that we have in the chat here? Any other questions that we should touch base on?
What was the video you were trying to share? Was it just them blocking?
Yeah, it's the one
Windows?
I'll retweet. I'll just quote tweet it on my Twitter. But pretty much, like I said, it's only a 10-second video. It just showed Trump supporters outside the Detroit TCF Center where ballots are being counted. And they like making a ruckus, like demanding that they stop counting the vote. And now apparently they got counter protesters there that are meeting them, and that's why a lot of people I see on Twitter talking about like the dynamic that there's like all these white people demanding that, because a lot of people that did their early voting in that area apparently was a larger black population, while the white population voted in. This is based on what I'm seeing on Twitter. So apparently it's just a weird dynamic. They are demanding that a system that majority of the black people was relying on to not be counted. So they was asking about if we saw that. I just saw that live when they brought it up. It's just kind of wild to see, and that those people are not going anywhere, guys. I hope you guys realize that, especially now that the Democratic Party failed to properly demolish MAGA like it should. Because if it
Mhm.
beat MAGA by a landslide, you stole the mandate. You stole their political capital, and you would embarrass them. And that's what our movement would have done with Bernie Sanders and
I
our
can
progressive.
share it if you want. By the way.
You can share. You said.
Uh huh.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Because I don't want to mess the
Uh,
stream up. I'm terrified of that.
Is in response to President Trump's lawsuit filed against the state of Michigan to stop the count. It's gone a little crazy here the last couple of hours. There are dozens of Republicans outside trying to get in. They want to contest everything. Is in response to President Trump's lawsuit filed against the state of Michigan to.
That's so crazy.
what
You
Wow.
guys saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, that
Okay.
was perfect. That was perfect. But yeah, that's how you get like I would feel so much shame if I feel like I had to pull that off to win, because they swear they winning the battle of idea. They swear that they have the intellectual high ground over the left. But how are you gonna pretend you had the intellectual high ground over the left or even the liberals if you gotta rely on voter intimidation, you gotta rely on voter spray? Pretty much do the same thing Democrats did to defeat us. Like as people that are constantly victimized of that, it's from our point of view, I just don't understand how they can mentally wrap their mind around that to know that they're in such a minority where they have to pull that off, but still feel confident in their political beliefs. Like, cause there's no, and when I call for the electoral college to be disbanded, my whole thing is like, there's no good argument for minority rule in my opinion. Um,
what I do want to say actually is that Trump put out a tweet like 20 minutes ago, which is very controversial right now. I can like read it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Let's go over that.
Trump basically said we have claimed for electoral vote purposes the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, which won't allow legal observers, the state of Georgia, the state of North Carolina, each one of which has a big Trump lead. Additionally, we hereby claim the state of Michigan, if not in fact there was a large number of secretly dumped ballots, has been widely reported.
What? So they
And
just made it up?
that's what he said. That's what he put on Twitter,
Wow, that's
and it's heavily censored too by Jack Dorsey. So
yeah.
they're
Well,
really censoring.
Twitter trying their best to stop the civil war from happening. Damn,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I've never seen a politician like Donald Trump not only willing to go all out for his base, but at the same time be willing to go down with the ship. Because
He got no
politicians,
choice, right?
I know.
Can I speak something on this?
Go ahead, Jay.
I am jealous of MAGA.
Right?
Same, same.
I wish we had someone on the left who would fight with as much abandon with every fiber of their being as Donald Trump does for his base.
Can you
If
imagine?
we had someone like that, Donald Trump would have lost in a landslide.
Easily.
Uh, because the Democratic Party constantly shits on their base, always. And hell, Kyle Kalinske said it a few months ago. He said rule number one is, you know, do not abandon your base. And what does the Democratic Party do? They abandon their base, whereas the Republicans they feed their base all the time.
Yeah.
And so, truth be told, that's one thing I am jealous of. is MAGA. They have their leader. For the left, we're still trying to find one.
Like, can you imagine if the squad even had that? It wasn't even just Bernie. Like, you even see the squad run
They
away from
can.
us. Like,
They can. They just. It's almost like they're scared to, because they don't want to piss off the liberals.
like you guys are proven to be like now. Like the first term, you can have that benefit of the doubt that I had even when I would criticize them. But now, after we were proved that you're proven to be electorally safe, and there's a progressive mandate based on the exit polls that we've seen based on what American people have, you
Oh
cannot
yeah, definitely.
you cannot be continue to be soft on them, especially with this upcoming fight with Nancy Pelosi coming up right now. We can't have that. So that's why I hope to see how them. That's why MAGA is so effective, because they are one. Even the senators, like even the people who was anti-Trump at first, like Lindsey Graham, they started appreciating Trump just to give the base what they wanted. So imagine if we have the squad, and they was pushing our interests the same way that MAGA politicians push the interests of MAGA base itself. Like we would be in a much better position overall. For example, we have AOC in the squad more unapologetically going to bat for progressive candidates. Um, like there was a few candidates that they did endorse. I know Jim Perlman was one that come to mind. A lot of them didn't go to bat like Shahid Buttar like they should have. But you can make the argument that was too much of a political risk. But those are the kind of moves that MAGA politicians will make to appeal their base. You know what I mean? So maybe they will learn this lesson. Maybe they feel emboldened by their giant victory this year. But we
Mhm.
see. We see. Any other questions we have here in the chat here before we sign off? Make sure I'm gonna get to everyone here.
Someone asked for our Twitter handles. I'm trying to gather them all now and just put it.
Yeah,
put
let's
it together.
see. I'll put mine here since I make it easy. I'll drop some links here as well. I need to start promoting myself some more. So hopefully you guys enjoy the stream. Like I usually try to do at least an hour and a half. We about there now. We can take a few questions. If you guys want to support my show, I got my Patreon there in the link in the description. You can subscribe as well. I'm 100% people funded as well, so anything that you guys can do that can help out, I would greatly appreciate it. Right now, I just got my laptop and the cheap headset, and I don't even stream in my house because the internet in my house is so shitty. And even like this internet is passable, but I would love to be able to have a situation where I can have a studio where I can stream much more often. And because right now I'm on like a very strict schedule where I know I can stream at my mom's house pretty much. But if I can have a better setup like a studio, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to stream every day, right? So that's the kind of level I want my channel to grow to eventually. I always have a hard time really asking for that kind of support in the middle of a pandemic economic collapse, but at the end of the day, I'm an independent journalist, so I got I gotta get my support from somewhere. So if you guys do wanna support me through the link I'll just lay down below, I will appreciate that. So in the meantime, let's see any other questions, anything that you guys want to cover specifically. I think I'm looking at my list here. We covered most of it. Um, yeah, we covered most of everything I had down on my little notepad here. Anything that you guys want to cover before we sign off, or any other questions from the chat?
Really quick, Jay, you're at JB Font, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's JAYBE
Oh, we got a question from Matt Dean.
FAUNT.
So I put it before. So what are your thoughts about QAnon lawmaker winning races? Let's see.
They're
I want
doing
to
better than
I want to see
Real
which
quick,
one won.
RJ, what's your Twitter handle?
1 second. I think it's Bowling Pride RJ. I think that's what it is. Yep. Bowling Pride RJ. And about the QAnon thing, really, that's
Okay.
what's scary, because right now Fox News is on a meltdown, and apparently for Fox News on election day, they had 13.6 million viewers on election day. That was the highest out of all of them. Like
So
that's
damn, the right wing is fired up. See, this is what I'm worried about, man. Like, especially if Joe Biden and their team, which they will, because they gave all indications. If they govern like neoliberal corporatists, we're gonna see a red wave in 2022. Especially now we know how popular progressive ideas are. Once they see Joe Biden and their team, which I think they will, shut down these policies, 2022 is going to be one hell of a reckoning. I think the left's going to get some gains because of how popular our movement is right now. If we can just pull up a few more upsets that year. But I think we're going to have heavy Republican opposition because Democrats largely underperformed. But I didn't mean to cut you up, RJ. I'll let you finish there. Let you have the
And so
last.
you guys remember about the women's marches, right? So all the women wearing the P word hats and marching, saying he will not grab us by P words. The women's marches, white women all across the country, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Think about that, but like more violent with MAGA. Like it would be 2 times bigger, way more violent. That's the scariest thing you could probably imagine, because just think of it this way: Donald Trump, his base are the exact same people, even the establishment Republicans kept out of the Big Tent. That's how Trump won. See, even those the same people that supports Trump are the same people too that even the so-called Tea Party didn't even want in their coalition. So by Trump not only winning with those people, but crushing the Bush dynasty, crushing the Tea Party, we're
Yeah.
in a whole lot of crap because the left, we're fractured. I
Yeah.
mean, we suck. We suck as the left. Let's be honest. We suck. When we're
We need
supposed
to
to
get our
come
shit
together,
together.
exactly. And so look at the right wing. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean,
Yeah.
at the drop of a dime, they're out there in the street. And
They
why?
did
Because
it.
oh,
Yeah, they
yeah,
did
go
it
ahead.
under the Obama era, and they're doing it again with the down ballot candidates. Go ahead.
Invisible Gardner just asked, "What are your thoughts on the Green Party? What's the path forward for left unity?"
Yeah, I actually want to do a whole show on this, man, because um, I'm looking at the results here. I'm calling it how I see it, man. Third parties got mollywopped. Like even Joe Jurgensen, who I have no love for, even she vastly underperformed. Looking at all the results I'm looking at now, and the propaganda campaign. Yeah, I'll tweet about it now. They did pretty well. I said after seeing third parties get decimated last night, our top party on the left 100% should be pushing advanced ranked choice voting. You are not serious about third parties otherwise. And we've seen in Maine. I mean, ranked choice voting is not an automatic win button for us. It's just not. But we don't stand a single chance with the current system we are now, the first past the post system. And with the way they can use propaganda and the fact that worst candidates are continue to go out in both parties, could when people see candidates like Joe Biden, when they see candidates like Donald Trump, it's very hard for them not to vote against the lesser of two evil in that situation. And I can make the breakdown and I can explain why I personally won't do that. But a lot of people who don't know the records of every single politician, or they may not do a lot of theory reading or whatever. It's easy for them to just fall in line and back up the neoliberal corporatists and the warmongers. So we need to find a different path forward, and we can't continue to run the same campaign that we've seen the Green Party run this time, that we've seen Gloria run this time. Or we can't see the People Party use the same path and expect any change to happen. Because one thing I talk about all the time when I float the idea of running is I do it with a very careful heart, because I don't want to run and take resources that should be used for people donating towards mutual aid, for example. So if people donate for your campaign and you run a campaign that is that is almost not a waste of time, like you got a national co-chair saying they don't really care if they hit 5%, which was reported one of the Green Party people saying when you see stuff like that, you gotta squash that out. Like if you're not going for 5%, if you don't have a goal for what you're running for, you're not trying to push the party left. We can't have you taking left wing resources on that. So I think we need to have the Green Party and the People Party not combine, but we need to do a lot of coalition working with each other on getting ballot initiatives passed. Because I'm in the mindset now, looking at how left wing ballot initiatives have done. Um, when I look at my state, when we expanded Medicare last election cycle, when I see Florida increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour, when I see when I see weed get legalized in 4 states this election cycle, maybe that's the path for the left until we get more electoral power. Maybe we should focus on just getting those issues to the ballot. That's how we win, and making the lawmakers support that to the end. Maybe that's the game plan to win, but For now, as it stand right now, um, the way we going right now in third party, they're just getting mollywopped. Maybe Howie Hawkins wasn't the guy. Maybe we get someone charismatic like Nia Turner or someone of that ilk, right? Someone who well known, a celebrity or something. I don't know. Someone who got a public eye, who's charismatic, and they run on the right issues, and they used the independent media apparatus. Because I reached out. Um, I mean, I'm just a no time show, but I reached out to Angela Walker and Howie Hawkins. They didn't come on. I mean, but what they should be on these independent shows all the time. Howie Hawkins was just on Jimmy Dore a few days ago. But why aren't we seeing Howie Hawkins and Angela Walker on these shows constantly? Because we got to beat the corporate media blackout. We
I've
gotta
seen
find a,
Angela Walker on shows though, because like she goes
that's
on
fair.
she like Joy Marie Mann has had her on twice. I'm a nobody. My podcast has like 4 listeners, like whatever. I reached out to her, she got back to me.
Yeah, my thing is
So
that we just need to see. My overall point I want to make is that we need to find a way to bypass the corporate media. We need to have the Green Party and the Pew Party. Um, I guess they already do it. That's fair. I guess they do that as they should. But we need independent journalists to prop up these independent candidates because that's what we need to build a left of. But maybe I see someone in the comments that maybe we do have to start from scratch. But my argument was the same way we wanted to take over the Democrat Party, we should have focused on taking over the Green Party and making them better, or make sure the People's Party is a better movement. But what do you guys think about that? I ran on that long enough, but it's a
Mhm.
long conversation that we need to have on what we got to do to destroy two-party duopoly.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, I'm thinking, um, if I think one of the best ways forward is to focus on local.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people, they don't pay as much attention, but who are these party apparatuses primarily made of? Like, for instance, they're made of the local Democratic Party, the local Republican Party. If you were to try to run candidates, city council, mayors, county mayors, things like that, you know, and it may just come down to a few votes, but it's how you market yourself within your community. Then you're able to get some of that power, and then you can also bring along people who are also, of that same mindset on the left. Then you can have a more uh, concrete foundation electorally, because you have to build from the ground up. You can't build, from the top down. And I think this is one of the faults that a lot of us on the left tend to have, is we think, oh, we got to shoot for the moon for the presidency, but we don't even have a foundation to shoot our rocket off of. So I think if we went more local first and tried to build an apparatus like the Republican Party did, then I think we have a chance. But it'll mean that by the time things really start to happen, we are all elderly, and we're basically the largest voting bloc that the United States has.
yeah, I want to add on to what you said real quick because that's actually a very
Hmm.
good point. You look
Hmm.
at Republicans, they control what, more than half of state legislatures in the entire country, which funnels up to federal judge picks, county judge picks, city judge picks, the
Yep.
attorneys, the sheriffs. That funnels up too to the state houses, the state legislatures, the state senate, and also too a lot of people who end up becoming congresswomen come from the Speaker of the House, like Sarah Gideon when she ran against Susan Collins. She was the Speaker of the House in Maine. And so the problem with Democrats is we folks, and I'm guilty of it. I mean, we love to have our people like Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib. We want to find the diamond in the rough. But
Hmm.
what Republicans are good at doing is they take anybody from anywhere, train them up in the way they should go. That way, when they do, I use the Bible verse, but whatever. But
And
but
I
that's
do
just
want
what.
I do want to chime in just so I can have at least a one positive note that I can put out there out of
not want to hear
DSA
my point on
candidates.
this.
26 out of the 30 nationally endorsed DSA candidates won last yesterday. So throughout this election, so that's one positive that we can take out of the left wing movement. So I always
Hmm.
want to throw that out there because I can throw different stuff out there, but I do want to at least throw that one caveat because once again, my overall thing I start out with is I am happy with how the left won the battle idea. You just gotta figure out how to turn that into electoral victories,
And
and we're still in. Because if you think about it, really, ever since Bernie started his movement, we're pretty much a 5 year movement. As a because Bernie kind of took left wing fragments that fought against that was had a ton of infighting for a long time and turned it into an electoral monster. Um, much I shit on Bernie, you gotta give him credit for that. So we're only like a 5 year movement if you look at it that way, and we constantly changing and we constantly adjusting. So maybe we just take this giant L that was 2020 and and learn how to be a much more effective and winning movement moving forward. Um, and like I said, when I see a comment in the chat now, he said other positive, several drug reform victories, like in Oregon. Yeah, I think we kind of covered that. Also, I didn't talk about the one in Oregon. I think that's the state that legalized all drugs, right?
They
So
didn't legalize all drugs. They
or
just
decriminalized. Yeah, that's
decriminalized
what I meant. Yes.
they decriminalized possession of all drugs.
And I took the far left stance on that because, like I said, as a libertarian socialist, I support legalizing all drugs. And people are like, what? Fucking mind their business. Let people
and
let people do it. I don't, like that's my like that. If you're not hurt, like if you get caught selling meth or heroin to kids, I guess I'm against that. You should be charged or fined. But I don't see that as a victim. If you have that's a victimless crime, the government should stay out of that shit. That's how I feel. But once again, I think kids can't consent. That's where I stand. So if you're get caught selling illegal drugs to kids, or those kind of drugs to kids, I think there should be penalties for that because I think that's not a victimless crime. But that's where I stand on that issue. So I was happy to see Oregon shift at least a little bit where I'm at on that issue. So I just come at it from a libertarian socialist mindset when I look at the issue of drugs, and especially since they've been used as a way to justify racist police policies. Why would any person of color? Why would anyone support a law that could be easily abused by white supremacists to let their people off? Like when the white people that abuse drugs, they get let off easy. They get slapped on the wrist. They get ignored. Hunter Biden, wink, wink, for example. But when black people get caught using drugs and abusing drugs, we get hit with a book. So it's an inherent racist um, policy that does not justify itself. Remember, my political philosophy can be summed up: does something justify itself? Does it not? I don't think it justifies itself. Especially when we look at Portugal, we look at other situations where drugs were legalized. You see a positive effect come from that. When you see drug use actually goes down in those countries. So when I'm looking at what justifies, I'm like, all right, so if you legalize all drugs and you have common sense policies put in place in terms of protecting children in that situation, and drug usage and abuse goes down, wouldn't that justify legalizing all drugs? So that's how I stand. Do I sound crazy to you guys or not?
not really. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say you're crazy about that. I mean, so
I
that's
mean,
just my opinion. But I did want to speak on like too about the DSA backed candidates. I think the move is DSA or Movement for a People's Party right now. Green Party is dead. I mean,
I hear you.
if you just look, and when Kanye West in one state gets twice the votes you get,
Oh
I
my
mean
God,
that's embarrassing.
it is
So I
embarrassing.
really think DSA and Movement for a People's Party should be the move. I will say too though is that I
Give
think
me 1
from
second,
every
guys.
election, yep.
Where did Nick go?
He left for a second.
Oh, okay. You just stopped talking, and I was like, "You stop talking." Nick stopped talking. Everything just went silent. I'm gonna share my screen again and show a video that I just saw on Twitter because it's definitely interesting. So let me share real quick. Give me a second. Which screen is it? Right here? Okay, cool. All right, let me turn the sound on.
The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media's covering up. We want our freedom for the world. Give us our freedom, Joe Biden. Your Biden's covering up this election. He's stealing it.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
Jesus Christ.
The Biden crime family steals
I'm
an
so I'm
election.
so happy you found that clip.
Cover it up. The Biden crime family
I was
steals
just
it.
about to find. I just saw that one.
Yeah, so apparently, statistically, Trump still has a chance to either tie or win. I'm not really sure the full numbers right
Come
now, but
on, you can't be serious.
Well, yeah, because if you look at the states that are left, because I
Come
just did like that's
on,
why
bro.
when I was
Come
quiet for a
on,
while, I was doing
Trump.
the math on
Come
it
on, Biden. You
as
cannot let
to see who could
Jackie.
win.
Jackie will never let me. She will never let me live this down. If Trump finds
What
a
if
way to
Trump
win,
wins?
if Trump wins, I feel like you will never
I
let me live this
honestly,
down. Come on, Biden. Like if anything, I want Biden to win just because of that. I can't
well,
you
let
to,
want
Jackie be.
Biden to win just to spite me. I see how you are.
Cause you,
well,
cause we
Tamika,
literally argue about
I
this
was
for
already
weeks.
wrong though.
You
I
are
was
I
right
mean,
already
because you already
wrong
said.
because I said that there was no way Arizona was going blue, and it did.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
I was wrong, but I was also right because I said there's not a shot in hell Florida goes blue, and it didn't.
See, I can laugh at
I
myself because
also
I.
said that Pennsylvania was probably going Biden or going Trump, and it's leading Trump. The only thing that I didn't see in play was Georgia. What the fuck? Because Georgia's like a deep red state. Again, Georgia has the blue areas, the big city, just like California. All the big cities go blue, and then everything else goes red.
well, the thing is, I can speak on that. So the thing about Georgia is the population in Georgia is 35% black. It's the state with the most black voters proportionally, and plus, too, the Karen caucus is pretty strong in
The Karen
Georgia
caucus.
too.
Yeah, but you're
So
assuming when you say 35% black, you're making the assumption that all 35% of that's going to vote Democrat, and that's not the case. There are
I
a
know
lot
that.
of
I'm just
black people who do vote Republican. Again, Trump gained black vote across the board. More people
yeah.
voted, so he went from like a smaller margin to now he had like when you compare Trump in 2016 to Trump in 2020 versus him versus Hillary, him versus Biden, he has more black people voting for him than Hillary did this time. So you can't just assume just because people are black they're automatically going to vote for Biden.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess what I am saying too is that there is a hub in Georgia too where you have some Hispanics, but at the same time, I
And
think what's really
Hispanics this race went for Trump.
yeah.
Again,
How do I take the white woman vote? I'm very interested
the
in
white
that.
women went for Trump. I think
I
more
want.
white
I
women went
want.
for Trump this time
I am
than last
obsessed with
time.
that. I'm obsessed with that statistic.
The
What
only
a white
stat
woman at?
that Trump
55%.
lost the last time I checked, the only stat Trump actually lost votes on was white males.
Wait, hold on. I just saw this on Twitter, but I don't know how true it is because I always wait to check. Yeah, 55% of white women. Wow, holy shit! They found it was at 53% last time.
I told
Wait,
you it went up. It's not
So you
skyrocketing,
was right
but
on.
it is
I think
incrementally going
you
up.
predicted that too, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
so I have
I said white women tend to vote for Trump, and if they, before my prediction was if white women go for Trump, Trump's going to win the electoral college,
so I
because they're the ones who voted for him last time, and that's how we got it. And I didn't see that he was going to lose white males, which he did, but he did gain. He not only gained white women, he gained black women, he gained black men, he gained Latinos across the board.
so I guess my big question is how is Biden leading? Like, is it geographic politics wise? Is it demographic politics wise? Because if if Donald
It's
Trump is only
geographic right now. Geographic, because the blue. So whenever you have, when usually in a situation where more people vote, there are more Democrats and there are more registered Democrats, I should say, in the country than there are Republicans. So usually when more people come out to vote, they tend to vote for the Democrat. But here's the thing nobody talks about. There's a sea of non-voters. And because it's so easy this time, many people just voted. That sea of non-voters, everybody assumed is going to be Democrat, but the sea of non-voters is split. And again, a majority of this country is the rural areas. It's sparse, it's not that, heavily populated, but those rural areas go red. So when you have like the whole country voting, it's not going to be a blue wave. It's going to be just like a rising tide lifts all boats. And that's why I kept saying, like, why are people assuming there's going to be this blue wave? It's not going to be a blue wave. It's just going to be more people voting in general, which is what we're seeing. Now, granted, Biden was able to flip Arizona, but from what I've seen, that's pretty much it. Obama had way more states than Biden did, because didn't Obama flip? Obama was able to flip like some deep red ones. Didn't he flip like Alabama or something?
No, he flipped Ohio.
He flipped a couple of states that were like really red, but Biden is not Obama.
Like I'm like,
that was my point. Like he's not going to flip
thing.
that many.
Yes. So I guess my question too is, we know in 1865, the South didn't give a single vote to Abraham Lincoln, and that's when the Civil War happened. So I guess my question too is, if this scenario doesn't end peacefully, with ballot ending, with the court legislation going, I mean, do you potentially see Red MAGA going ape crap, doing things unimaginably to try to dispute the election or as a protest? Because that's kind of my main concern.
I think there's a small percentage of white militias that are radicalized to the point a lot of people don't really understand. Because I've seen a lot of people on the left downplay this, and I'm not quite unsure why they do that. Well, they were like, well, I don't think they're gonna do anything. I don't worry about the rise of far right white supremacists in this country, because they are a much bigger threat. And this is something I've been saying for a very long time. Now, I'm way more concerned with the radical white supremacists than I am a radical Muslim, for example. Like like me living in Missouri. I mean, there were literally reports of the KKK in a town called Belton right next to me. It's only 10 minutes down from where I live. And there was an attack apparently this summer with that was classified as a hate crime down there. So as a black man who live in the Midwest, I'm way more concerned with them than I am with radical Islam. So it's like, that's ridiculous. So I am worried, like, those people act up. But our system is so polarized, and people are so crazy.
I hate to interrupt right now, but on Twitter right now, guess who's in Philadelphia right now speaking to the MAGA crowd?
Who?
Former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. He's out there giving
How is
speeches,
he not shamed out of existence? How did that not happen?
He's gone full MAGA right now. I mean, Fox News right now is going ape shit. Like, it's comedy for me because I like laughing.
Yeah, because like I was about to end the stream, so like you guys can dip or whatever. But I'm kind of like going over through this stuff. I'm going through some of this stuff live, so I'm glad you brought that up because I'm kind of trying to catch up. I haven't been like paying attention to like election for the last few hours, and that's all it takes. It only takes like a few hours, and you're behind apparently. So I guess we can kind of react to some of these news we're seeing now. Because I was just looking at some of these stories. What was that you say you saw, RJ?
Okay, so type in on Twitter the recount, and it's like almost an hour old. Rudy Giuliani says, "Do you think we're stupid? Do you think we're fools?" And that's Rudy Giuliani in Philadelphia discussing the vote in Pennsylvania. So he's really rallying the troops right now.
They literally stoking fear. They going all in on this strategy. I mean, we knew it was happening. It's just still, we knew it was going to happen, but it's still kind of surreal to see, isn't it?
And also, too, I want to get back to Jay's point about us being jealous of Trump, being jealous of MAGA. If the Vice President Al Gore, if he had just a quarter of the fight that Trump has right now, that Al Gore had in the year 2000, they would have won because they legitimately got cheated.
Yeah.
So if Al Gore had just a quarter of the fight that I'm so jealous of the fight. I'm jealous of MAGA 100%. I'm jealous of the fight. I'm jealous of how quick they can organize.
Like, can you imagine if our progressive leaders did this when the Democrats were trying to steal, when they actually did steal the election from us? Like, man, I wish we was down for that struggle. So the right wing is down for the struggle, and the media will play defense for them. The media constantly. Go ahead.
The difference is Republicans, they don't do morals. It's eat or be eaten. Democrats play morals. See, the problem we have as leftists is we have to deal with these fucking liberals. They're the ones with the morality police. They're the ones with no balls. Conservatives, John Boehner, when he was the Speaker of the House, he said, look, the Tea Party, I hate the Tea Party more than I hate Barack Obama. When the Tea Party took over and defeated the Biden dynasty, then the establishment Republicans got on board. Because
You're cutting out.
Republicans win anyway, then who matters? It doesn't matter. But the liberals, it's not the same way. If we screw them over politically, yet Democrats still win, they will fucking hate us forever.
Yeah.
That's the political scenario we're in right now. And that's why I'm so pissed. That's why I hate this entire political scenario. And that's why I tell people all the time, look, I'm not mad at MAGA. I hate MAGA ideology. I hate what they're doing, but I can't hate the tactics because we the left, we're the fucking worst. We don't even try to do shit like that.
Like, how can we fight a radical right wing when we don't even put the same kind of fight that they do?
Well, here's the difference. See, the difference is who leads your movement. I don't give a shit what you stand for. I don't give a shit what policies you stand for. If you can't stand up and fight for it, it's fucking useless. That's why Bernie Sanders, love him for his policies, but he's the biggest fucking loser of all time. Because when he had a chance to stand up to Obama, when he had a chance to say fuck you to Hillary Clinton, he laid down like a dead dog. Donald Trump said, look, we should have never been in Iraq. And then when basically Jeb said, well, my mom is the best person in the world to me. And he said, well, yeah, well, she should be running. He crushed them. And that's when even the Republican base still today is solely behind Donald Trump.
When you have Bernie Sanders in the middle of the primary when asked, do you think Joe Biden can defeat Donald Trump? And when he said that he thinks that Joe Biden can beat Donald Trump, he forfeited in that moment, right? Like that's like the moment that he forfeited. So I got love for the man, but how can you not call that out for what? Like the stakes was so high. Like, can you imagine if we had someone like Bernie Sanders? I mean, we had Bernie Sanders fighting the way that MAGA is rallying their base up right now.
And I hate to base up with you, but I'm on a roll right now. So
yeah, go ahead, bro.
Notice the difference between left wing and right wing. Right wing counselors to Donald Trump. Donald Trump listens to his counselors 100%. If they're loyal to him, they say, "Hey, Trump, we should do this. Hey, we got to take this tactic. We got to do this." He's all for it, 100%. Do it. Don't even effing ask. If it helps me win and our people win, to do it. Bernie Sanders, when Breonna Joy Gray, Nina Turner, Peter Dow, all these top Chuck Roaches said, "Hey, Bernie, we got to do this to win." Oh, I don't know. My good friend Joe. Fuck you, Bernie Sanders. That's what ticks me off. That's the difference between Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would have won, but he has no fucking balls. That's why, to me, I'm at this point now, the first person to call out the Obama dynasty, the first person that's the left wing with values, but has some fucking balls, I vote for. I don't give a shit who they look like. I don't care what they say. They can say cuss words all they want. I don't give a shit no more. That's where I'm at.
Exactly. That's I feel you, bro. That's the whole mood. That's the whole mood right now. And I see Bernie Sanders, because the liberal class was melting down when Bernie gave a very, very mild criticism of the Democratic Party recently, because he knew pretty much the election is essentially over as much he can influence it. So Bernie Sanders recently came out like, yeah, the Democratic Party is ruled by coastal elites, and if they don't govern in a progressive way, they're gonna lose. Pretty much saying the same thing that we've been saying on the podcast here. So I wonder if that's Bernie signaling the fact that he planned on being in opposition. Now, I don't get my hopes up too high, but the only way I can see myself kind of Bernie redeeming himself for kind of throwing the election away, I can see him doing that if he is a strong adversary of Joe Biden Democratic class. And I don't mean strong in the sense that you have AOC giving these fancy speeches on the Senate floor. I'm talking about I want him to lead the opposition against Joe Biden if he commits a war crime. I want to see him get impeached in that scenario. So, and I wouldn't see Bernie Sanders lead the opposition. I want to see the squad lead the opposition of having someone like Joe Biden impeached. Because if you did that, you'll show me that these are issues you really, really care about instead of you just caring about your position in the Democratic Party. Because if I'm looking at this scenario right now, I can't come up with any other scenario or any other conclusion than you just wanting to reaffirm your status within the Democratic Party. But if you're doing that just because you want to get rid of Trump and you plan on opposing Biden as strong as I want you to, I give you props for doing that. But I think there's a lot of ways Bernie Sanders and the progressive left could put more pressure on Joe Biden instead of just folding everything and showing their hands at a, like literally 6 months into before the election. You have people pledging their vote for them, and I was saying I was telling people I think people, even if you was voting for Joe Biden, even if I voted for Joe Biden, I wouldn't have told anyone to prior today. I was like I would have kept that shit to myself. I wouldn't have given them the satisfaction knowing that they tamed me and they don't have to change my vote. Even if I made a decision I was gonna vote for Biden in August, I wouldn't have told anyone. And I was seeing people on the left, they was like, "Yeah, I'm voting for Joe Biden." And they was like virtue signal using it, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why are you doing that? Even I'm not even mad that you're voting for Biden, but are you looking for praise from the liberal class? Are you trying to be their friend? Like it seems
Well, you
like
want a
there's a lot of
cookie?
yeah. To me, like, am I wrong? I saw a lot of that. Like
Yeah,
I feel like I saw
yeah.
a
I
lot
mean,
of people just trying to get praise from the people that I don't care if they like me.
and so I want to speak on that actually. So I think the squad, they felt like Biden would win in such a landslide that if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer got Senate seats, more corporate Democrats, it would nuclearize their power. And which is true because if Nancy actually gained more seats in the House, then fuck the squad. If they say no, I got more extra to cover my ass. But this is what I've been explaining to people. If Biden wins, we're fucked because they're going to realign. I think the best time for the left right now, and it's how Bernie Sanders can redeem himself is this: if there's a tie in the Senate, if it's 51-49 Democrats, Bernie Sanders should be the first one to kill anything. Make it 50-50. Force Kamala Harris to break the tie.
Yep.
That's what you should do. I mean, Joe Manchin has that power anyway right now. I mean, people are talking about if the Democrats get 50-50, Joe Manchin is basically the kingmaker in the Senate if the Democrats have a dream of getting anything done. Same thing with the House. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, she lost half her gains in 2018 in just 2 years. So if the
Yeah.
squad plays their cards right, then they can have some power. I mean, and that's how it works. The only difference with the left is we have to wait for things to suck to get power. The Tea Party, they did it while they were in power. They had the House,
And
so they didn't wait till they sucked.
it's kind of sucks because Bernie's ability to be an effective resistance is going to be so limited the next few years now that the Republicans are going to take over the Senate. Because remember they were putting promises that Bernie going to be on the Senate Budget Committee or the Senate whatever committee if Biden wins and Democrats take the Senate. So now that illusion is gone too as well, and
Mm-hmm.
and I wanna put spotlight on this 'cause I think a lot of people got in here because I was like, man, I'm gonna roast white women because we see that the Democratic Party they lost the chance to flip the Senate and they lost House seats. And we talked about earlier how Kara Eastman, even she lost her race even though Nebraska went for Joe Biden. You have um, all these progressive ideas are doing well, but you're seeing um, those crushing losses. You see that Democrats are struggling in states like Florida, even though they support a minimum wage increase. Um, and I'm glad now that we have the data, so people can no longer blame me, a black guy living in a red state in Missouri that went red for Joe Biden lose, if Joe Biden potentially lose, because white women voted for them at a 55% clip. And
Mm-hmm.
now that the Democrats seem like they're not going to take the Senate, who do you think white women voted for? I'll guarantee. I don't have to look at the data. I guarantee you, white women back Susan Collins. I promise you that they are the reason why the Democratic Party did not flip the Senate once again. So there's this the new demographic change that I see, and I see that there's young people that are more progressive than they ever been, no matter what the race and the class is. Because one thing I saw all the time was people who never talked to undecided voters. Like I have, I canvassed back in South Carolina, talking to disenfranchised Americans, And I saw people assume that people who don't vote, they didn't vote just because they are privileged or they are not the disenfranchised class that Trump is affected. But these people, they don't vote because they are not given a reason to vote. And that's why you're not driving up this turnout. And even though Joe Biden won the black vote, Bernie Sanders won the youth black vote. That's the key.
Mhm.
And Bernie Sanders dominated the Latino population in Florida. Even it's funny because I remember in the lead up to the debate when Bernie was doing well, they was attacking Bernie on him costing the Cuban vote in Florida. But actually, when they had a vote in that state, Bernie beat Biden with the Cuban vote. So it's always funny how disconnected the corporate media talking points is in reality. And now imagine if you have Bernie Sanders, who was strong, who beat Biden with the Cuban vote, and who was strong with the Latino vote. Imagine where he would be in this election right now. Imagine how much of a landslide Nevada would have been with the because you can't rely on this carrying coalition. And let's roast Project Lincoln once again because this is the coalition that the Project Lincoln was supposed to bring on. They're supposed to win the white woman vote with the social media savviness.
You know, you keep bringing up Project Lincoln, acting like they lost. Did they? Because they're Republicans who raised a lot of money
Yep.
that they were able to keep. So what did they lose? What exactly did they lose?
That's a good point. They did exactly what they wanted. Their bank account
They're
won.
Republicans, so it doesn't matter whether Biden wins or Trump wins. They're still the agenda is going to be Republican. They knew that.
Yeah,
So
Bill Burr was
Project
right.
Lincoln
Don
didn't actually
Jovan,
lose
I'll let you go.
anything.
I'll let you go right after this, RJ. Well, Don Jovan said white woman was big mad at Bill Burr for the SNL monologue, but it's like, bro, he was on the money, wasn't he? Cause Bill Burr
Yeah, he
literally
definitely.
called it before the election. He was like, white women just trying to take credit for this shit, and but they they did it once again. They back white
Hey,
supremacy once again, like white feminists always do. I mean, that's their history. They back up white supremacy, and a lot of white feminists was white supremacists throughout the course of history. These are the
hey, I
white
gotta
moderate. Go ahead, Jay.
no, I gotta get going.
Yeah, thank you for
But
joining, man.
yeah. It was a great conversation. It was my first time getting to actually do a stream with Jackie, and I'm deeply privileged. And
Nice.
so that's the one thing I wanted to do is do a stream with Jackie. So
Aw.
Yeah,
I, I,
nice.
I, I, I'm
Thanks.
fanboying right now. So I just
We
wanted to let you know,
we love to see it.
you know,
We love to
you
see it.
you are Captain America. Um,
Thank you.
There we
yeah,
are. Yeah,
but it's
That's
all
so
as always
sweet.
is a privilege.
yeah. Jackie, the reason why this show's impossible. She like my co-host. She keeping everything together
Hell
here. She keeping
Yeah,
the boat.
Jackie's the best.
She keeping this shit running because I don't know what I'm doing. She help out a lot more than a lot of people realize here. We got Black Rose on Friday if you want to enjoy as well, Jay, if you're available. But anyway, thank you for
yeah,
dropping by, man.
yeah. Thank
Make
you.
sure you guys follow him. I'm gonna put his Twitter in the description again, just in case,
All right.
just so
Bye
people
bye.
can see it.
Really quick, someone in the chat just mentioned it, so I decided to look it up, and they're saying that pretty much it looks like Biden is gonna get it. Wait a minute. Why am I on the old one? I looked up the map and suddenly it's Clinton. What the shit?
Yeah, let's see
Like,
some
how
results.
did
I
I
want to
go
see
all
that
the way
you won.
back to 2016? What? Because I was like, okay, I just want to look at the Fox electoral map. But apparently, like someone in the chat said that Fox is called it. Okay, so this is supposed to be
Wait,
19
Fox
minutes
called the
ago.
election?
No, they didn't call the election, but they said that that Biden has 264 electoral votes. I'm trying to find it because I'll share the screen.
Yeah.
But every time I go, I see, okay, here we go. Because when I look, it gives me the 2016, and I'm like, I don't want the 2016.
How interesting would it be if Fox turned on Trump? And like, nah, he
Uh,
lost, bro.
Fox isn't gonna turn on Trump.
No, MAGA is Fox News. So,
Yep.
why kill your own base? So it
Where
doesn't
the
make any
hell is
sense.
their map?
If I was
Okay,
Tucker Carlson,
now I'm getting.
if I was Tucker Carlson, I'll be like, nope, he didn't win. Get him out of here, because he's the favorite to win 2024. So whether it be a 2024 Republican guy. So if I was Tucker Carlson, like, nah, get him out of here. It's my turn. Y'all, I'm gonna show you how it's really done. Because Trump, man, they made it close. They held the Senate. They took some House seats in the middle of coronavirus. Like, I literally said during my prediction the only reason why I even give I was picking Biden was because of Corona. I think any other situation Donald Trump would have won. And even with the horrible government response to COVID-19, you still see the Republican Party holding on, and QAnon is picking up congressional seats. So how the hell that
Okay.
happened? So let's see what
Well,
what
yeah.
what was they calling on Fox? Let me look on
Well, I just pulled it up. It's not 264. It is. They do have him at 253 though. They have Biden at 253
So
to
what
Trump at
exactly is Trump's
214
path at this
with
point?
71
So
flexible. And
Yeah, I see it
the
now.
places that are left are Alaska, which traditionally goes red, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia.
So it seems like
yeah,
Biden
Biden
won
only
Nevada officially. It seems like, right? Yeah.
it hasn't been called yet. It hasn't been called yet, but basically Biden needs
Nevada's
to
not
win
called.
one of those states that Jackie mentioned, and Trump needs to win all of them. So
Yes.
So one more state
Biden
for
Well,
only
Biden
yeah,
is
because
over,
right
son.
now Biden is at 253, so he only needs 17 more.
I want to see the
So
MAGA
if
meltdown
he
so
wins,
bad.
here's the thing: if Biden wins Nevada and Arizona, he wins. That's it.
Wow.
If he takes Nevada and Arizona, he wins. Trump would have to win just about all of them. But if Biden
yeah,
just
and
wins those two, he gets the 17. Now, if those two split, or like basically between the two, if Arizona goes blue, that's pretty much it for him because well, okay, so here's the situation. If Arizona goes blue, if Arizona and Nevada go blue, Biden wins. Done. If Nevada goes blue but Arizona goes red, now we're back to all paying attention to everything else.
Yeah, and they're saying that someone in the chat says Pennsylvania is pretty much basically in the bag for Biden.
For Biden, because last I checked, Pennsylvania was in the bag for Trump.
Yeah, let me. Also, we probably should check that
okay,
because
let's do live state by state.
yeah. So basically, what's going on is like Philadelphia suburbs, like half of the vote has been counted, and the other half needs to be, and all of them are basically in blue districts. That's why Trump is being proactive and trying to stop the count in Philadelphia. That if Trump had no threat of losing, Rudy Giuliani wouldn't be there. So that's why Rudy Giuliani is there.
so they said breaking Trump campaign asks Supreme Court to intervene in Pennsylvania vote counts.
Yeah.
Wow, they are so desperate. Like this, is how you
And
know they're fucked because they're seeing the writing on the walls right now. That's kind of desperate, isn't it?
yeah, and Nick, I sent you a DM on Twitter,
Yeah, I
and
see
this is
it.
the letter that the Trump campaign sent out to his supporters. I mean, this is scary as
He's
shit.
still
Oh yeah,
winning,
it
though.
said this is.
He's
Hey
still-
Jackie, do you let me see if I can send it to Jackie so she can put it on the screen.
Yes, just
what
to
is
show
it?
everyone.
I'm gonna send it to you on Twitter. So
Okay.
because I think she
Like
can
right
share it better
now,
than
I'm
I
looking
can.
at the live update for Pennsylvania, and I was right. It's still leaning to Trump. It's 51.7% for Trump,
Really?
47.1% for Biden.
Okay.
And it just reset. So apparently, new information has come in.
So you get that tweet. I want to see. I'm looking at it myself. But this is what they preparing the base to do. Joe, it literally said in all caps, the Democrats will try to steal this election. It literally says that in all caps to start off with. They coming out hot. Just like I predicted from the start, mail-in ballots are leading to chaos like you had never seen. Plain and simple. The radical left will do whatever it takes to try and rip the Trump-Pence victory away from you. That's why I'm coming to help you now. Wow, I need your help to ensure we have the resources to protect the results. We cannot allow the left-wing mob to undermine our election. Like, bro, we literally coup South American countries for less than this. Like, can you imagine if this email was released from a Nicolas Maduro campaign, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Can you imagine if they did this in Bolivia? If this would came out of the Socialist Party and their leader was caught saying shit like this, like do you know how fast we would coup them? And funny because Iran actually, the Iranian leader, he gave a speech a few days ago, where he was mocking the U.S. He literally came with that same point. Like people always talk about our country, but you got Donald Trump and them that may potentially steal the election. Like
And
this is we are a clown state. Like this is a clown shit. I can't see. I can't. What are you thinking, RJ? I hear you about to say something.
yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about Trump is he's 2 for 0 against conspiracy theory. So remember Russiagate? That was been debunked by plenty of independent journalists.
Yeah.
He likes to tout impeachment gate. I mean, over a phone call with Ukraine. I mean, there's some doubts about that, but that's been debunked as well. So of course Trump is going to think it's a conspiracy against him to snatch the presidency away from him. Because the whole talk is that. Because picture me this: put yourself in the shoes of MAGA. And I know you don't want anyone wants to do that, but think about this: you've been told this entire election that it's going to be a landslide to Biden. Don't even bother showing up. The polls show Biden's up 8% everywhere, right? And you all come out to vote because you feel threatened. Yet on election day, you go from a +8 to 0.7. How would you think you would feel? So like that is some crazy, scary shit. I mean, look at lefties like us. I mean, we get validly cheated, and the establishment brags about it, and we don't do shit. That's what I keep getting at. Like, look, I hate shitting on our side, but we're the fucking worst. We're the worst.
That's how we get better though. We need to challenge our side. I'm looking at the comments here are pretty useful here. But yeah, it look like Biden locked us up.
I saw a comment from Fiery Angry Socialist. Sam Wilson got nothing on Rose.
Wait, who's Sam Wilson?
Sam Wilson is Captain America in in Marvel Comics. Well, he was for a little bit. He's also known as Falcon. Right now I'm wearing a Captain America shirt. And for a time Sam Wilson was Captain America. He was Black Captain America.
Yeah, and also
if I can find anything breaking because this is crazy. Because we see we already knew this was gonna happen, but it's still kind of crazy to see it happen in real time. Cause we seeing some real fail state shit going on right now.
Oh, and Nick, I'm gonna send you another video. It's trending right now. I don't know if you saw this, but this
send it to Jackie. Send it to Jackie because she's the one that can share.
Send it to me because it's easier for me to share than for him.
Yeah. Okay, what's your I think I have your Twitter account. Let me just look it up.
It's at Polls Jackie.
Yeah, Polls.
Just my name backwards.
Did
you guys see? I tweeted this yesterday. Trump sent out a tweet, and he was talking about the polls, but he spelled it the way my last name is spelled, Poles, instead of Polls, and he capitalized the P. And I shared it to my friends, and I was like, I think he's calling me out.
All right. So what's your Twitter again?
At Polls Jackie, POLESJACKIE.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send it. It's ridiculous. So what they're doing right now.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. I'll look it up.
All right. Young Carlton Banks said, "Imagine Biden dies, then we get Mayo Pete as VP and Kamala as president."
I was warning. I was warning people because I don't think a lot of people know how that system works. Because I actually had to look it up myself. What happens once the vice president take over? Because there was a lot of people that were trending Pelosi for president at the idea of the vice president taking over. Like that's not how it works. Because the vice president.
That's just the order of if
the
president dies and the vice president dies, then it's the Speaker of the House. But if the president dies and the vice president becomes president, the vice president picks their own vice president. They become president. They pick a new vice president.
Exactly.
It doesn't automatically go down the line. Like it just stops at the vice president, and they pick their own, just like the president did.
Yeah, that's exactly why I was breaking down to people because there's a lot of people that didn't understand that. And when I see how much they are propping up Pete Buttigieg right now. That's the guy they want to be the next leader, and I can 100% see Kamala Harris picking him. And there's a giant overlap between, oddly enough, K Hive and Pete Buttigieg supporters. You notice that? And I see like they put Pete in front of all the cameras. He's
that's because K Hive is nothing but the remnants of the "I'm with her." K Hive is Hillary's. The K-Hive is Hillbots. That's what they are.
And I was joking.
They don't want the gay white guy. They want a woman. It's got to be a woman. Full stop. That's why they're K-Hive, because they want the woman.
Yep.
Yeah, and I sent you the video, Jackie. By the way. on Twitter.
Okay.
So basically, what's going on for those who can't see it right now, you'll see it in the future. You basically have MAGA outside. So basically, what they do when they count the votes is they have like this mini factory. It's highly secured, highly guarded. And what MAGA is doing is they're trying to burst through the doors of that building to try to stop the vote themselves. And they're met with
Wow.
security in front. And, you know, it's no armed security. So they're literally just, I mean, the security folks have to barricade themselves against the door while MAGA is like
Yeah, I
coming
see.
after them.
I have way too many tabs open, so hang on. 'Cause my
MAGA
computer
going
is
out full
crawling.
fascists, huh?
All right. I just got it, but like I said, my computer is crawling right now, so give me a second. Okay. I'm gonna make it bigger, and then I'm gonna screen share. So here we go. Sharing now.
Lincoln Project raised $67 million. Imagine that money spent on down ballot. Go ahead, let's see the video.
There's a woman on the ground. Just wait a minute.
The cars are literally out there. Bro, what, they, I swear they'll tear gas shit out of us when we get there. They will tear gas the shit out of us.
Okay, why isn't he wearing a mask right there then?
The guy was covering the window. He's not even wearing a mask.
The woman just knows that.
There's a woman on the ground. Just wait a minute.
Yeah, that's why,
Yeah,
like,
well,
our group, I feel like this is just another example. I mean, you can call me petty if you want, but this is just another example of how our system and our fascist police system and our law enforcement backs up white supremacy. Because I don't think it's an overreaction for me to say. I swear, if Black Lives Matter or any other leftist group was actually trying to prevent democracy, we would get tear gas for that shit. Like you will see, you'll see batons come out. They will beat the fuck out of us for doing. You see what they're what is it? Do they got a permit? Do they got a permit for that? I got a lot. There's so many questions that come to my mind when I see that. Like how they able to get away with that shit? Like we would get. Like we got tear gas at the KC protest for sitting at the water fountain. Like there was a giant fountain, and that was where that big story where the fire came out because the cops started the fire because there was a bunch of kids, and a lot of people just sitting around this area, and they just start throwing tear gas for no reason, and no one was even doing anything. That's how we treated. That's how left wing movements are treated in this country. They immediately throw tear gas. They immediately beat us up. And meanwhile, these people are literally protesting democracy. Like, how is that illegal? What they're doing right now? What the fuck? Like,
I mean,
like,
it's not.
am I missing something? Like, how are they able to do that?
I mean,
Like,
just look at it this way. When Black Lives Matter was at its peak during the middle of the lockdowns, liberals got mad at Black Lives Matter because Joe Biden's numbers were tanking. That's how fast they turned against us. But a lot of the institutional people, they support them. And while I'm talking right now, Jack Dorsey from Twitter, he censored Anthony Scaramucci's tweet because apparently Anthony Scaramucci is back on the Trump team. He basically said an attempt to steal the election is underway. This was the plan all along when they sabotaged the USPS.
Jack is saying? Oh wait, no. Wait, hold on. I missed. So Jack is not saying that. Scaramucci is saying that, right?
Yeah.
I thought Scaramucci was supposed to be the good guy. This is liberals like that because he was anti-Trump. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, he's still a Republican, but this is a tweet by Anthony Scaramucci. It said, an attempt to steal the election is underway. This was the plan all along when they sabotaged the USPS and forced late count voting of mail-in ballots in Midwest states. Good Americans will stand up to the never mind. So he's not for Trump. He's against Trump. But once again, this is a conspiracy theory. It's not necessarily proven true. So that's why Twitter kind of censored tweets. So notice how journalists aren't fact-checking these conspiracies, yet the Twitter platforms are doing it, which is a complete violation of Section 213. So that's kind of the bad thing we're having right now.
Yeah, I'll just tweet that out. I'm glad you're doing well. But I'm like, yeah, we get tear gas. I'm looking at that video. Insanity. Like I said, I had literally no plan to stream this long, but might as well. We got a lot of people watching here, and I was just trying to get. I don't like this is what we doing anyway. I'm looking at it, just trying to see what's going on. I appreciate like anyone in the chat that's saying of this stuff here, because they kind of keep me just as informed as anyone else here. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to find that tweet that's being censored because I think UFC even more. Like I thought Scaramucci, he's obviously a Republican, but I thought liberals liked him because he would be anti-Trump every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, Democrats love Republicans. I mean, like I told you a long time ago, liberals love Republicans because they think of them as their stern father.
Yeah,
You know,
I love that.
they're the comfort blanket at night.
You're the
They
one who
give you
told me that, right?
Yeah, I did. I was the one who
Yeah,
told you that.
yeah,
That was one of my most viral tweets at the time.
yeah. I love my mutuals. My mutuals be taking me to school, man. That's that's one of the things I learned. Like you said that, like, oh, dude, that's exactly how I want to put it. That's perfect because that's exactly what it is. That's why they have sympathy, and that's why they want to rehabilitate the image of someone like George Bush, and that's why they are so happy to buddy up with John Bolton whenever he turns against Trump, because they see just their misguided father out of those people. And this is going to be a giant test for Democrats and liberal class. I said it earlier on the stream. I'm gonna say it for the new viewers that are watching now. It's like I take everything, all my political stances on principle. So on principle, I do want to oppose any effort to steal this democracy. But for me to do that for a party that already has no concern for democracy, a party that openly steals elections, parties that kick off third party candidates off the ballot, it's hard for me to pull that trigger, but I will. But you guys gotta show me you want it. I'm not gonna throw my body out there first. I want to see some Karens get arrested for this. I want to see. I want to see you guys get tear gassed and beat for one trying to fight for this shit. Show me how bad you want this democracy right now, because the shit's getting
Nobody wants
real.
democracy. That's why we have the Electoral College. We don't have an actual democracy. My
Yep.
version of all of this is far more dire and bleak, so I'm not sure you guys even want to know.
No, that's what you're here for. You're here to put us back to reality.
Okay, the reality is the voting is thinking that the government is going to help us is naive. They're not. They are run by corporations now. That's how it's going to go. If we want any kind of change, it doesn't matter what party, doesn't matter if it's Green, doesn't matter if it's MPP, it doesn't matter if it's Democrat or Republican. If we want any kind of change, it's going to have to happen outside of the legal system. We're going to have to go into the streets and demand things. That's the only way we're going to get things done. The time we don't have enough time to wait for AOC and the squad to decide to fight to get us the Green New Deal. We're going to have to demand that the corporations that are doing 90% of the pollution either change their tactics or get shut down.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can stop it now, because the electoral college, politics has let us down. They're not going to fix the problems, and we're running out of time. Scientists said, hey, you got 10 more years before human extinction, not just human extinction, like the sixth extinction is inevitable. In that 10 years, we're either going to have to take to the streets or we're fucked, because no corporate run government is going to censor themselves. So like when you guys were talking about, oh, what does it, do we go with the Greens or with MPP? It doesn't matter. We're not getting Medicare for all through any of this, because the Dems and Republicans are not going to stop the duopoly. Power is never given. It has to be taken.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand the lesser of two evils debate and the lesser of two evils argument. Because they asked me that on the Convo Couch. I'm like, there's not a lesser of two evil when you got two presidents that denied their citizens health care during a pandemic. How do you calculate the lesser of two evils in that situation? How do you calculate the lesser of two evils when we got a climate crisis and nobody's taking it seriously? You got a candidate that said he believed the scientists, but he's still against fracking. He's still against meeting. His plan doesn't meet the scientific standards. I mean, I remember.
His plans failed because his plan says, "Oh, we'll do something by 2050." Number one, he knows damn well he's not going to be alive in 2050. Number two,
Yep.
2050 is beyond the date that the scientist gave us. He's not serious. He doesn't care. It's all corporate. Everything in our government, that's what they showed us. That's what he was saying every time he said, "I'm not a socialist. I beat the socialist." You didn't beat shit. You didn't get enough votes. The Democrats put their fingers on the scale, not just their thumb, their whole fucking hand to make sure that he got it. So that it's not the same. Like what they're signaling is, if Joe Biden wins, it's signaling that the corporate takeover of a Democratic Party is 100% complete, and
100%.
they are going to do everything they can to snuff out leftist voices all like across the board. And I
So
think that will inevitably lead to a civil war, which was why I was leaning toward Trump, because everybody's like, Trump is going to be the civil war. No, because if Trump gets in power, the leftists aren't going to do shit. Why? Because when I say leftists, I don't mean leftists. I mean like liberals. Liberals aren't going to do shit. Why? Because liberals don't do shit. Remember, they were going to riot if RGB was replaced, and she was replaced, and they were like, well, actually, we kind of like this woman. They're not going to do fuck all. So if you don't want a civil war, then you do want Trump, because they're not, because the right is going to do something, but the liberals are not going to do anything, and everybody knows that. They are all talk, 100%. The actual left is who's in the streets, but the actual left is outnumbered.
Yeah,
and look how little bit they about to fight. I'll let you go back to this, RJ. Joe Biden just tweeted out there were puddles playing in the chat. You don't have to put it on the screen because he just put out some tweet. He said once this election is finalized and behind us, it will be time for us to do what we always done as Americans: put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us. Like, bro, that is not the energy we need right now, bro. So Puddle's like, you see, this is the Democrats already giving up. They already ready to forgive Republicans and sing cute. Bro, have you not paid attention to anything that happened the last hour, bro? Like, they are literally trying to steal the election from you. What are you talking about? Like,
So this is what I
bro,
don't understand.
you're deeply unserious. What the fuck was that tweet? I know it sounds simple, like, bro, but how out of touch are you? Like, he's like, this is the time we about to come together as Americans. Like, no, we are not. We are clearly not coming together right now. Go ahead, RJ.
And frankly, I'm gonna add to your point. So Jackie earlier explained about how partisan the situation is. I mean, purely alone, there are more Democrats than Republicans. That's why Joe Biden's winning. He didn't expand the coalition. He didn't do anything special. And to your point, Nick, about Trump right now, I forgot your question. What was your question? I can talk about it.
I don't remember the question, but I think we were originally talking about because that one still got put up on my screen is the Trump and them trying to steal the election and Joe Biden's weak response to that. Like, I don't know if that's response. He just put this tweet out last hour. It's just like obviously he's not paying attention. But go ahead, bro.
Okay, so what I was going to say is that when the Civil War happened, Abraham Lincoln didn't just say we have to come together. I mean, there was bloodshed. So you're going to have to kill a movement in order to, it's like an old saying, like out of fire, like I don't know, something. But you have to it's almost like you have
they
to
just called Arizona.
Oh, they just
called it for
they
Biden?
did it?
Yeah. And New Mexico, apparently.
So is it over?
So right now, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Biden's officially at 264 and Trump is at 214.
So rest in peace, Trump. Rest in peace, MAGA.
Here's the thing. I think no matter what, and I've thought this before, but I think no matter what, because this election is so close, we're not going to know who president is probably till the end of the year. Everybody's like, oh, we'll know by the end of the week. No, because they're just going to contest it. Because they're just going to take it to the Supreme. They're going to contest the results and say, oh, ballots, like no matter who wins, both sides are going to say mail-in ballots were fraudulent, like they were tossed out or what have you. And it's going to be just like it's 2000 all over again. It was 2000, 2004 when it was Al Gore and Bush, and it ended up being, Florida had to be recounted multiple times. Only this time, instead of it being Florida, it's going to be like 4 or 5 states because the margins are insanely close. The margins are like 47 to 51%, or as in Nevada, 49 to 48, like 49.3 to 48.7. That's insane. Like that's entirely too close. North Carolina, 48.7 to 50.1. It doesn't matter which side goes. Like all of these states, it's like 6 states. 6 states. No, even more than that, because even Wisconsin's 49.6 to 48.9. There are like 10 states that are like a hair's breadth away that either side is going to demand a recount. We're not going to know the official win until probably January, in my guess, unless somebody if Biden wins Nevada, then he gets 270 because Nevada has 6. But again, even if Nevada wins, if Biden hits that 270, that doesn't mean Trump isn't going to sue. So,
oh my God.
Either way, that's what I'm saying.
This is me just enjoying this entire shit
close. They're going. It's so close. Like and I don't mean so close to electoral college. I mean like if you look at the numbers, it's 50. It's like 49.9 to 49 point whatever. Like the margins are so close. It's inevitable that they're going to sue. It doesn't matter who gets to 270. They're going to sue. This is going to be dragged out.
Yeah, and I want to add that too, what Jackie just said. To me, I think the Democrats are going to learn from year 2000, because as soon as Republicans finalized everything, we won, there's nothing else to it, move on. To me, I feel like once Joe Biden hits 270, he's basically going to turn into Mayor Pete. We have shocked the nation. And then they're going to stop the counting, just like they did in
Biden
Iowa.
already kind of did the same thing a little bit last night.
Yeah, but Biden won't full out do it because he's a conservative. Trump, he's proactive. Biden's reactive. And so to me, if I were Biden, this is what I would do. I would plan the election as soon as I get it, because that means you have the momentum. Now Trump is playing defense. You're on offense. The problem in the year 2000 is the Democrats were in defense. Republicans were on offense. This is your opportunity. And also, too, there's a lot of people who sacrifice their moral beliefs, their principled beliefs, and their policy beliefs to vote for you. That's lefties, because it's evident there's nobody voted Green Party, even non-voters who just got in the political process for the first time. So they're all depending on you to have some balls, because historically they know that Democrats are weaklings. So if he actually stands up and have balls in this moment, it could be beneficial. We'll still have MAGA, but what it would do is it would solidify those same people to come back in the midterms. So, but Democrats don't think that far ahead. They think only in the moment, which is why Republicans historically, every time there's a Democratic president, 2 years later they lose the House, 2 years later they use the Senate. So that's kind of where I'm looking at right now, because if they allow Trump to still have oxygen, they're in trouble. It's not going to be pretty. I think we lost Jackie.
No, you didn't. I just went off video for a second.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to go grab something.
That's all good.
Yeah, and so what Jackie said was right. I mean, the polls are so close. I mean, Trump has already declared that he's doing a lawsuit in Wisconsin. No, he's doing a recount in Wisconsin. I think he's doing a lawsuit in Pennsylvania. What he's doing right now in Michigan is Michigan right now is actually, they had a tabulation error for Senate. So, and I'm in Michigan, so I know about this. So what they're doing is they're actually recounting all the votes for Senate by hand, because there was a tabulation error for electronic devices using to count the votes. So they're doing everything by hand now, because the margin for between Gary Peters and John James is actually way smaller than the margin between Trump and Biden. So that's kind of why they're doing that.
Man.
Really quick, in the chat, there was a question posed. Before I answer that, I just want to be like, Chris, progress, you're way too nice, buddy. Like you're putting off like 18-year-old vibes. Like, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're saying like, oh, it doesn't matter what people like. If people have the wrong ideology, we can push them. You're not pushing anybody, okay? Nobody's gonna get pushed left, even if they're pretending to be progressive. They are just, you have to take people at face value. They are what they are. Same thing with TYT, because he was trying to say that we need left media, and actually, 2 to B said we need left media, and like we're not going to get it because capitalists aren't going to, like, you have to have capital, and capitalists aren't going to, promote something that's against them. And then Chris was like, yeah, we're not going to get that, so our best bet is TYT. TYT is not our best bet. TYT may as well be MSNBC at this point. TYT is not progressive. It's slightly left of liberal.
It's center left. It's literally a channel full of Warren Democrats. And
exactly. They're the ones who pushed Warren.
And that's what I was talking about before. I would never forgive TYT for that. And if you look at it objectively, Elizabeth Warren was a big instrument of tanking Bernie's campaign because she would get out of the race. And if you look at a lot of people that was supporting Elizabeth Warren, their second choice was Bernie Sanders. So these are a lot of people who, well, a lot of them, their second choice, to be fair, was Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar as well. But there was a certain section of people that believed that Warren was progressive, and that's why they was supporting her. That was directly because of TYT and TYT legitimizing Elizabeth Warren, even though Elizabeth Warren had a shady
jank.
Yeah, she had a bad track record by 2020 because I talked about it before. Like if you asked me pre-2016, would I vote for Elizabeth Warren? I wouldn't have been a supporter, but I would have voted for her before that. But ever since she got in the Senate, when she started expanding her record, because when 2016 hit, she was only in the Senate for what, like 2 years by then? So she didn't really have a record. So when she got in the Senate, she literally had the same foreign policy as a standard Democrat. Like she voted for Trump's trade budget. Like she voted for Trump's military budget as well. And when you asked her about Venezuela, she was taking the Democratic Party talking point on Venezuela. She's a big AIPAC shield as well. She always take the side of Israel on in terms of the apartheid state over there. And then when, just like Joe Biden did during the Bolivia coup, she was literally repeating CIA talking points, and she backed up Mike Pompeo, the Trump administration during the Bolivia coup last year. And guess what happened?
Okay,
Go ahead, RJ.
I have some breaking news actually. So in Nevada, it says the Washoe County Registrar Deanna Kakula says Washoe County, which is in Nevada, will not post any new results today. The next result update won't happen until tomorrow morning. So this is gonna take a while, y'all. So, and Reno is actually the second. It's one or two. See, Nevada is weird. It's only two. There's only two counties people live in. Reno and what's the other one? I forgot the other one. There's only two people that live there. So if that county isn't doing any of their votes, then basically the rest of the counting is paused for tonight, and they're doing it in the morning.
Yeah, that sounds like we kind of. I would be pretty shocked if Biden doesn't win at this point. So that's not anything new to me. If Trump wins, that'd be fucking hilarious. But my biggest takeaway, and the reason why I was doing this stream right now, because there's a lot of takeaways other than this clown show of a general election. Like we have the results of the Senate races, where I have my eyes on. We have the existential dread of knowing that Joe Biden will have a Republican Senate. We've seen the massive missed opportunity of having someone deplorable like Amy McGrath running against Mitch McConnell, and what will happen when that situation happens. Now we see Amy McGrath and a lot of these centrist candidates that lost. They're gonna, especially McGrath in particular, she'll be on MSNBC. She might have a lobbyist position, and the revolving door continues. And I'm hoping the Democrat Party learns their mistake. They won't.
They're not
they
going
won't.
to. Don't
They
even
won't.
give yourself the hope. It's
But
not going to happen.
I better not see her name. The reason I said that, I better not see her name float against Rand Paul when I think he's up in 2022, right? Or 2020, or is it 2024? For Rand Paul, because I think Booker might have the eye on him if I have that if I have that correct. So I hope, like, I don't ever want to see Amy McGrath again. Give her an MSNBC position. She's done, but that's like those results.
Just like Pete Buttigieg isn't going away. Just like Hillary Clinton isn't going away. They're all like, this is reality now. It's a shit show.
Yep. Let's see. Let's see
what another question. The question. Shaggy is asking on Twitch, what in everyone's personal opinion is the strategy of the American progressive / socialist movement going into the future?
It's really three steps. Organizing groundwork. We have to do better than the Republicans in terms of really city elections, county elections. The second part is media. I mean, we really have to find a way, not only through YouTube and to alternative media, but really to get on mainstream media too. Like take more of a Glenn Greenwald route where you frame something right wing, but you have left wing principles. Also too with Jimmy Dore. And the third part is if you want to have someone nationally lead a movement, they got to have some fucking balls. You can't bring like a Bernie who's right on the issues, but is a cuck and will basically lay down like a dead dog when shit hits the fan. So the dream scenario for a leftist movement is to have the fire and outrage of a Trump supporter, the tenacity and grit of Trump, but the policies of Bernie Sanders. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I don't know if that
And
answers the question, but that's my
so they
opinion.
asked about the direction of the left wing movement, and I don't know if there any other questions, but we can end it on this question, or we can probably take another one. I don't know what other questions are lined up, but is this question asked what we think the direction of the left wing movement should be, or what do you think the movement of the left wing will be? I can answer both. Well, I think
Want me to reread the question again?
yeah. Read one
What, in
time.
everyone's personal opinion, is the strategy of the American progressive / socialist movement going into the future?
So I think I read at what we think the strategy should be. And well, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier on the stream. I can repeat again for the newer viewers that are watching now. If you look at the election results now and what has been going on, that's been a trend for the last, honestly, 4 or 6 years, honestly. When you look at whenever issues are posed on the ballot, the voters almost always vote in a progressive way. I mean, we've seen ranked choice voting lose in Massachusetts. And I think it's Indiana, the other state, but I apologize, I forgot the second state. But I know for a fact it lost in Massachusetts. And the to end the gig economy, that ballot initiative failed in California. But other than that, um, left wing ballot initiatives have done unbelievably well the last few years. We were able to get Medicare expansion in multiple states. In 2018, we got it in Missouri. We got legalized marijuana in 4 states this time. Increased minimum wage in Florida. And I didn't read all of them. That was just the one that come to my mind immediately. So as a left wing movement, maybe we should focus on having more of these driving these down ballot initiatives and continue to expand. Um, so we have our first Justice Democrat that about hit Congress. That was endorsed by it was Cori Bush. Like she was the original Justice Democrat. Well, not the first one. I should say the original. So we should get more Cori Bush Democrats while we got in, but we can't only have that as our game plan. We should be pushing these direct ballot initiatives. We should be pushing ranked choice voting. We should organize general strikes where we need it because things are going to get very dark this next year with the incoming economic collapse. So a lot more direct relief efforts. We're gonna need a lot of that, in particular regarding the climate, because even though we go into a pandemic and economic collapse, the climate crisis would always require uh, protesting to get done, and this is what people forget. Like even if Bernie Sanders won this election, we still will probably have to hit the streets to get the Green New Deal and Medicare for all. So we especially will have to do that with Joe Biden as leader. So that was all. That option has literally never been off the table. At no given point have being off the streets been an option for us. Um, so I've always been an advocate of taking all our shots, and that's why I vote. Even though I've been upset with the system now, I vote and I vote for the Green Party, even though I didn't think they didn't stand that much of a chance to even hit 5%. But I still take the shot 'cause I think A1 should take the shot where we have it, whether we do direct ballot initiatives, electoral politics, or direct action of organized general strike. We should do that. I think that should be the focus of the left, and we need leaders that's willing to organize that. And people who follow my content, follow my channel, knows one of my biggest criticism of Bernie and the Squad is the fact they didn't throw their giant uh, institutional support behind the general strike and rallying the masses. Because it takes, believe it or not, it takes those big personalities, those big people to help garner the interest needed for that, using their union connect. So I think that's the future of the left, and And what I plan on doing, and for the people that watch my stream, when I first started my YouTube channel, when I first started doing this, I consider myself a citizen journalist, and I still do that. And when the channel first started, I was interviewing people in South Carolina. I shared my stories, perspective from that, and I still want to do that, even though my channel has grown. I had to adjust due to COVID and the reality of COVID and the fact I can't really do any citizen journalism and activism. So my best bet is having people like RJ and Jackie, Savvy, Pat, Erica, have those people on, have these real activists on Rome, do Black Rose Brigade, but once everything clears up and once we can actually start groundwork, you just see the channel quickly transform to something why you will see me giving like live interviews with people at rallies. Like I love the kind of work that Jordan from Status Coup do when he like on the ground. He was on the ground for Flint, Michigan. Like these kind of stuff I see myself doing for myself. Like I just can't do it right now. Like people don't understand what my game plan was. It went for COVID. Like I was in South Carolina. Like you guys know that. I mean, I had plans to canvas all over the country and cover important events all over this country, but I can't do that with COVID. So I just did the next best thing. We can have I started hosting progressive roundtables, and me and Jackie started doing that. And Chris, I see you bring up in chat run for office. I mean, I've been open. I've been thinking about it just from my time in South Carolina. People said that they think I would be good at it, and I think luckily enough I had the support where I can get the donations and the volunteers necessary. But I always want to be careful because, like I said, I don't want to do it if there's not an end goal in mind. Because honestly, the first race when you're unknown is getting your name recognition up, and then you most likely will win the second race. That's the path of victory, unless you're like AOC. That's how most people win. That's how Cory Bush has recently won. So even with that end game, that's important to have. I just don't want to run and just burn resources of the left, right? Like so, instead of donating to me, I want you to be able to donate to a progressive candidate that has a great chance or to donate to mutual aid relief funds. And that would be much more useful for me than me just running a blind race. Like I did research in my area now, and I called out Emmanuel Cleaver in the Black Congressional Caucus. Cleaver is my representative. I don't know how this election went for him. Last time he was primary, he won the primary by 80% of the vote. So people think I was just talking shit, but I did my research. I did market research. I looked exactly and what races I could run, and I did a lot of research into that. So if I was to run against Cleaver, I would need a massive grassroots campaign that we haven't seen before. I said like a Malcolm X campaign is something I would be looking at, and we would have to pull something off like Cory Bush to defeat him. And I also thought like maybe I should run for state rep first. Maybe I should run for police commissioner. I mean, I would love to take the action directly that way. So there's always those options. So just to address Chris' progress point, but yeah, but because I don't know if you saw that, Jackie. Cause Chris was like, me and you should run. What do you think about that, Jackie? You think you can be the next Bernie Sanders?
No. Like I said, I've given up on. I agree more with Shaggy, who says that I'm suspicious of public offices. It smacks of the old Trotskyist strategy of marching through the institutions. I and in nearly 100 years it hasn't worked. I agree. At this point I'm 100% giving up on the electoral process. It's not going to give us the change we need.
Yep.
It's not like what are the things that we're fighting for? We're fighting for fair wages. We're fighting for Medicare for all. We're fighting for like a Green New Deal. None of that is going to come through electoral policies. We have to get in the streets now. If anything, I would rather organize marches or takeovers. Like just protests aren't enough. We have to go to their houses. We have to camp outside, and we have to show up in numbers too big to deny. That's what I think we have to do if we're going to get any change. Now you're thinking probably like I was like, well, that's not going to happen because, the US is far too complacent. Just give it a couple more months because the second round has begun for COVID.
Yeah.
Europe has already started their lockdown. I guarantee you some state was, from what I've heard, a couple of states, even Republican ones, are already talking about going on lockdown again because the case numbers are skyrocketing. And as much as the administration is trying to hide the numbers, you can't hide people getting sick. It's still, you can't hide more and more people dying. You can't hide hospitals becoming overcrowded, which is already happening, and the cold and flu season just begun. So once that happens and the lockdowns happen and Congress is still not giving us a relief, we're behind on the relief from the first lockdowns, and they're still not giving us relief, and the second lockdowns are going to happen. On top of that, all of the protections that happened up to the end of the year on January 1st, those are all gone. Once you have mass unemployment and mass illness, which we had before, we had in the first wave, but again, students of history know the second wave hits the hardest. So when you have far more deaths, because that number is just going to skyrocket due to COVID and to other things, to other poverty-inducing things. When you have mass unemployment and mass evictions, because January 1st, those protections, the CDC protection is up. If Trump loses, he has zero incentive to start that again. If Biden wins, like with Biden winning, he can't do anything until January 20th. By then, between January 1st and January 20th, I guarantee you a ton of people are going to be homeless.
Yeah, it's going to be really bad, really bad. Now,
And
a lot of people don't understand
I
that.
have a feeling that it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yep.
And it's going to take that getting worse in order for there to be some type of revolution. I do think the only way actual change is going to happen is if we have like a Russian or French style revolution. Maybe not French, because they got a little crazy and they went with, they're beheading everybody. Maybe let's just go after the oligarchs and not behead like everybody.
Yeah, we can do this like a civilized group of people in the modern era. What were you about to say earlier, RJ? I think I got
some more. I got some more Lincoln Project news from you. You know everyone's favorite Republican, the Democrats' favorite Republican, Michael Steele, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read you this tweet. It says the Lincoln Project announces their new agenda. Senior advisor Michael Steele announces their plans to resurrect the Republican Party in a way that it could become a governing majority in the future.
No.
Those principles and those ideals we espouse to me still matter. And this is what I keep telling people.
So they're not even the whole Democrats. They decided to build the Republican Party, and liberals gave them the money to do that. Oh my God! Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I saw this tweet because Ashley Stevens, she retweeted. She said the Joe Biden administration is about to be Ronald Reagan 2.0 on another level. God help us. So that's it. Look, I try telling folks all the time, don't trust Lincoln Project, because when push comes to shove.
This is why I unfollow people. I literally unfollow people for that. I gave people warning, like, bro, if I see you retweet the motherfuckers, I will unfollow you. Now I don't feel bad. Like, there's a part of me, the softy part of me, that kind of feel bad for doing that. But now I don't. You had to be a fucking idiot not to see this coming. You had to be an idiot on the grandest level, because everyone on the left was warning this. So now, what happens to all the money they didn't spend? Like, they always had leftover funds. Or
it's going to be funneled into their own.
Yeah.
They're going to pull a Pelosi and a Schumer. They're going to funnel into their own coffers. That's why earlier I was like, you keep saying they lost. What the fuck did they lose? They were grifters. They got a lot of money from dumbass Democrats, and they're going to keep it. So how did they like? And again, it doesn't matter whether Biden wins or loses. It was completely irrelevant. They were just grifting on the never Trump. They were doing the same thing the Democratic Party does. They are hashtag resistors, not trying to do a damn thing to change anything, because they know either way, nothing will fundamentally change. They were just doing fundraising. And they won. They were successful. They raised a lot of money.
So there was a giant L for the left. Big win for Reagan neocons, right? Because they about to get, like, another big thing about to happen in the next few weeks is Joe Biden cabinet announcements. Especially if he wins, I think his cabinet is going to be worse. This is my prediction. Like, a lot of people, there's reports of how bad it's going to be. I think it's going to be worse than what people already predict it's going to be now. So we see. And then we're going to be on top of that on this show, obviously. We almost 3 hours in. Are there any other questions for? I want to do a little extended stream this time. Let's see. Is there any other questions we can get to before we call
I
it
don't
here?
see any more. I think we've got all of them.
All right, cool.
I
'Cause
just
I
caught up.
think 3 hours in is a perfect way around it. I want to do a little bit more because I appreciate all the viewers we got on this one here. But anyway, Jackie obviously stream my calls. You guys already know we'll find her, and RJ he been a pretty regular on the show, and we be on the Black Rose Brigade Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're watching this, if you want more news from a black leftist perspective, that's exactly what that show is designed to do. Because for a long time, black leftists have been kind of shut out from mainstream political discourse. So my show is kind of amplify our voices, and I hope. But what I love and based on what I see is people love that we have kind of a different take than you see out of the mainstream, and that's what you can expect from this new generation of black leftists that are coming up. These um, we're Malcolm X style Democrats, MLK style Democrats, or whatever you want to call it. These are the ideology that we represent. So I try, um, and this is why it's important to support the show if you can, because like I said, I'm streaming my mom's house because she got good internet here. Not even perfect, but as my channel grow, and I'm already looking at having like my own studio setup so I can stream much more often. Because right now it's very limited the time I can stream and what time I can stream. So the more I grow, and once I'm able to get like my own studio, get upgraded internet service while I'm at, these are the kind of things that grow when you sign up to be on Patreon. Whenever anyone give me a small donation, I get closer to this kind of stuff. And once I have ability to like stream my house and stream all the time, you be able to see me doing election day streams, nighttime streams. I might be able to stream much more often. So that's what happens when you support my channel. So I don't advertise a lot, but if you enjoy the show, if you're watching now, please subscribe, follow. I'll put a link to my Patreon and PayPal, all that if you want to support the show, so you can get more content like this, and we can bring more people on. So I try to throw that out there. So anyway, I do watch. Thank you guys for watching. Anything you guys want to plug, RJ, Jackie, before we head off here?
Um,
Um,
no, not really.
All right, cool.
I've pretty much abandoned Rose Against the Machine because, for the most part, politics just got too heavy. Because I was like, this is nothing's gonna change. It doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how you vote. It's like the corporate oligarchy wins, and it got a little too heavy for me, so I backed off from it. So now I'm
Yes.
focusing mainly on my movie channel, Cinematic Adventures. So
Oh, nice.
that's it. Yeah, it's a podcast. I'm gonna be Twitch streaming, talking about like the Mandalorian and stuff. But
Nice.
that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
as
so
for
I was
me,
thinking about doing Black Rose on a different day, but
Mhm.
Jackie was like, "We can't do it. I can't make it." I was like, "Oh no, I can't. I'm like, I can't lose Jackie. Like she's a critical to the setup. So you be doing your politics things here. Anything you want to plug, RJ?
not really plugging. Just know that things will get better. You just have to. Not sound like my mom. You just have to hope and pray. But as for this situation right now we're in, Trump's lead is closing. He's losing his lead in Georgia right now, and he's projected at a 65% clip chance of winning the state. So you could have opportunity of it being announced tonight who the president is. And that's just for the future of our politics.
Yeah,
We as the left, we got to get better. We really have to
exactly.
get better in terms of coming together. I mean, if we came together just as often as the establishment did against Bernie, and the way MAGA is basically going full meltdown in the streets right now, I mean, we'd be unstoppable. We have the policies behind us. We have the overall support. We're just not tough. That's all it comes down to. We don't have the guts, really politically, not grassroots, but the politicians we send to represent us, they don't have the guts when it really matters. I mean, just look what
Right.
Trump's doing with MAGA. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, so at least the good news is that we will have the results by Friday. So I suggest all you guys check out the Black Robe Brigade. It'll be at the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, because I think we'll have much more information regarding the election, and we can give our live thoughts on that. So anyway, thank you guys for checking out the stream. Please support the channel, like, follow, and all that stuff. Thank you guys for checking out Progressive Martial Artists.